Cole, you must be exhausted. Cole, eat this. Brother, you worked so hard. The atmosphere froze, thick with a tension that was somehow also full of affection. 3 sets of eyes collided above the dinner table. Though silent, the clash was deafening inside Cole's head, a crackle of high-voltage electricity. It's over, he thought. Everything I've done, all that careful balancing. We're back to square one. He mentally kicked himself. He should have just scarfed down his food in 3 bites before any of them had the chance. His heart was bitter, but he plastered a sunny, brilliant smile on his face. Not tired at all. With you guys helping, I feel like I could go all night. Jasmine tilted her head, a smirk playing on her lips. Cole, if you don't eat my piece first, you know the consequences. Serena sucked on the end of her fork, glancing from the piece of spicy chicken she'd placed in his takeout container to Cole's face, then back again. Cole, eat mine. Eat mine. Luna took a bite of plain rice, chewing slowly. Her long eyelashes fluttered, her gaze seemingly fixed on her own food, but her bright, dark eyes were secretly aimed at Cole. She'd mustered the courage to call him brother in front of the other 2, and it hadn't been as hard as she'd imagined. But now, brother, will you eat my piece first? Cole forced a laugh. He looked down at his container, now home to at least 8 pieces of spicy chicken, each occupying its own territory. He was facing an impossible choice. Who to eat first? No matter who he chose, it would be the wrong answer. Then again, maybe it wasn't so hard. An idea sparked. This spicy chicken is the best with rice. I can always eat 2 huge bowls of it. As he spoke, he took his fork and gave the contents a vigorous stir, swiftly mixing all the chicken pieces in with the remaining rice until they were indistinguishable. No more yours or mine. Just one big, happy family. I've always loved eating it like this, he announced, not daring to meet any of their gazes. I'm telling you, it's the only way to get the full flavor. He buried his head and shoveled a huge mouthful, his cheeks puffing out. He chewed furiously, mumbling, so good. This is the best. He just kept eating and talking, resolutely refusing to look up. The chicken was flavorful but chewy. In a fit of desperation, he swallowed a massive bite whole. Gulp. It felt like a rock going down his throat. He used the container to shield his face as he took another huge bite, just to avoid the awkwardness of sitting there with an empty fork while they all stared. As long as their eyes were on him, he wouldn't put it down. Thankfully, they finally began eating their own meals. The mood was still a bit heavy, but at least it gave Cole a chance to breathe. He powered through the entire container, forcing it all down. Then he patted his stomach and let out a seemingly satisfied sigh. Man, I'm stuffed. Nothing makes you eat like spicy chicken. Before the 3 of them could react, he smiled. You guys take your time. I'm done. He got up from the table and went to grab a bottle of water. If he didn't get a drink soon, he was going to explode. He only dared to take a small sip, though. Any more, and he'd be even more stuffed. Water bottle in hand, he walked to the balcony under the weight of 3 complicated stairs. Gazing out at the distant Eastwood University campus, he sighed inwardly. It wasn't easy. Everything came at a price. If he wanted to achieve his dream of a 3-woman menage, he needed unwavering perseverance. Only a man like Couldnt could possibly pull this off. Outside, the sky was growing dark. A brief shower had passed, leaving the air clean. The faint sounds of children playing and parents calling out to them drifted up from below, a peaceful slice of life. While it was tranquil outside, the space above the dining table inside was still crackling with the combined brainwaves of the 3 women. Cole didn't look back to check. His heart was gradually calming down. The girls would eventually figure out each other's feelings for him. The longer he waited, the harder it would be to resolve. The sooner it happened, the easier it would be for them to adjust. He couldn't just get one of them in a bed and then try to deal with the fallout. That would only wound the other 2's pride and create an irreconcilable situation. Could 3 girls who were strangers to each other come together for one man? Absolutely not. But their familiarity and harmony with each other. That was the loophole Cole could exploit. If they all knew each other, had a good relationship, and liked the same person, there was a chance things wouldn't completely implode. The situation he was facing was essentially the same. His job was to make these 3 girls into friends. If he succeeded, it would dramatically reduce their animosity toward one another. It was his only shot at this greedy success. But he knew the difficulty level was astronomical. Facing 3 opinionated, independent, and stunningly beautiful women and trying to win them all over, it was a hell-tier achievement. Cole's gaze drifted into the distance, and for a moment, he had the distinct feeling that he was the protagonist in one of Frank's web novels. A profound, contemplative air settled over him. Cole, what are you spacing out for? You ate, now get to work. Jasmine's dissatisfied voice cut through his fantasy, shattering it instantly. The profound CEO Chun was gone, replaced in a flash by compliant yes man. "All right. Coming, sis. I wasn't spacing out, just enjoying the view." He jogged back into the living room with a sheepish grin. The three of them were already sitting around the coffee table, getting busy. The dining table was cleared, the takeout containers neatly placed in a trash bag. Luna's gaze was soft, tinged with a hint of apology. She had tried to take out the trash, but Jasmine had stopped her. Serena blinked, a thought flashing through her mind. Right now, she really wanted to go for a walk with him to digest their food. Jasmine was focused on her screen, logging into an account. She didn't spare her brother a glance. "Go take out the trash," she said flatly. "You didn't even bring your laptop. I don't know what you're even here for." Of course, she knew exactly what he was here for. She had suggested on Facebook Messenger that they all come here to work, and the other two had enthusiastically agreed. She'd even mentioned the apartment, thinking that having a couple more people around would keep them focused and prevent them from slacking off. It was also a subtle way to assert her claim and, more practically, to keep Cole from getting handsy. If it were just the two of them, they probably would have ended up working on the couch or in bed. And that wouldn't do. Work was work. But now, she was having second thoughts. Maybe ending up in bed wouldn't have been so bad. She had briefly considered inviting Alex, but Alex was her personal friend and wasn't involved in the company, so she dismissed the idea. After taking out the trash, Cole returned with nothing to do. He hopped on group chat, sending out a few reminders and monitoring the chatter on Headline Today and its rival, Headliner. All the while, his mind was racing, trying to figure out how he was going to survive the night. Sleeping in his dorm was out of the question. He couldn't just send all three of them back to their own dorms. It was impractical and would raise too many questions. He had a feeling there were more trials to come. He sat with them as they worked until just after 9. Tonight wasn't the main event of their PR war. They were mostly gathering intel, identifying the key accounts driving the narrative against them. Jasmine stretched her back. "All right, let's call it night. My butt's falling asleep." She looked at Cole. "We're sleeping in the master bedroom. If you're not going back to your dorm, you can take the guest room." When she had invited Serena and Luna, she'd already decided they would all stay over to avoid the late-night trip back to campus. The moment Serena heard this, she spoke up. "I need to take a shower. I didn't get to yesterday. I'll go first, okay?" She closed her laptop, shot Cole a sweet smile, and then skipped happily toward the master bedroom's bathroom. Jasmine watched her go, her brow twitching. How did she seem so familiar with the layout? The thought flickered through Jasmine's mind and was gone. The apartment wasn't that big. It was perfectly normal to know the master bedroom had an ensuite bathroom. Still, a tiny, unidentifiable flicker of annoyance remained. She shot a sideways glare at Cole, who was sitting by the balcony, before heading to the main bathroom herself. Cole, on the receiving end of the glare, looked completely bewildered, but inside his heart was pounding. He had, of course, noticed Serena's familiarity. A first-time guest would have probably asked which bathroom to use, or if there were slippers. But it wasn't a huge deal. If you were sleeping in the master bedroom, using its bathroom made sense. The living room fell quiet. The sound of running water started up in the master bathroom, followed by a similar sound from the main bathroom. The doors, it seemed, weren't very soundproof. Cole was used to it, so it didn't faze him. He looked over at the girl, sitting in the middle of the sofa, and met her gentle gaze. Luna was sitting perfectly upright, her long legs pressed together, her hands resting on her knees as she fidgeted with her fingers. Her dark, limpid eyes were like autumn pools. Her delicate face and small mouth were soft and captivating. Even in this perilous situation, Cole felt an overwhelming urge to kiss her. His mind was flooded with the memory of how wonderful it felt. Sensing the heat in his gaze, Luna's heart seemed to connect with his. She knew instantly what he was thinking. A blush crept up her pale cheeks. She glanced at the two closed bathroom doors, and her heart began to beat a little faster. An inexplicable impulse took over, and she opened her mouth, whispering his special name for her. "Brother." The sound was as soft as a breath, but Cole heard it clearly. The fire inside him shot straight to the top of his head. He listened to the sounds from the main bathroom. Jasmine would be out in about 15 seconds. He slid over in one smooth motion, cupped Luna's blushing cheeks, and tasted the fruity flavor on her lips. Luna's heart trembled, her whole body tense. Cole was so bold. If they were seen, a part of her almost wanted to be caught, yet she was mortified by the thought. The water in the main bathroom shut off. Their lips parted. Cole the thief darted back to his original spot, picking up his phone and pretending to be engrossed. Luna's blush had spread all the way to her neck. Her beautiful, almond-shaped eyes were glistening. Her heart was pounding like a drum against her ribs. She pressed her lips together, swallowing, then lowered her head and mimicked him, feigning interest in her phone. When Jasmine came out, she saw two people engrossed in their screens. Cole, get out the new slippers. On it, sis. Cole had almost forgotten. He went to the shoe cabinet and took out the new cotton slippers and shower sandals he'd bought. 3 pairs of each from Street Stall. They were all about to come in handy. Jasmine and Luna changed into the cotton slippers and sat on the sofa, discussing reimbursement forms. A little while later, the water in the master bathroom stopped. Serena emerged, dressed in her own clothes. With the other 2 girls there, she didn't feel comfortable enough to wear Cole's oversized pajamas. The hot shower had left her face with a faint pink glow. She padded over to the sofa in her shower sandals, hopped on, and playfully slapped her feet together. Normally, Cole the simp chun would have already been there with a towel to dry her feet. But not tonight. He pretended to be captivated by something on his phone. Serena, of course, understood. She wasn't ready to go public with their relationship either. Still, a small pang of disappointment pricked at her heart. Okay, I'm going to shower now, Jasmine announced, standing up. Luna, if you don't want to wait, the other bathroom is free. Okay, I'll just use that one, Luna said. She didn't care which bathroom she used. If she hadn't been talking to Jasmine earlier, she would have already gone. Soon, the sound of running water filled both bathrooms again. In the living room, Cole and Serena's eyes met. Serena pouted and gave a little wiggle, her eyes screaming, "Hug me." Cole grinned and opened his arms. There was still enough time. If he didn't hug her now, he wouldn't get another chance tonight. Serena's face lit up. She shot a quick glance at the 2 bathroom doors, then stood up, her bare feet on the sofa cushions. She scampered over, and with a little hop, knelt in his lap. Cole securely cupped her bottom, steadying her. Cole, we can't sleep together tonight. Babe's not happy, Serena whispered, pouting. It's okay, babe. We'll sleep together another time, Cole murmured into her ear, his own ears tuned to the sounds from the bathrooms. He was playing with fire, and a part of him was nervous. MHM. And next time, you have to hold me all night. Seeing her sweet, bubbly side now, after witnessing her cool, composed public image, was a total rush for Cole. Just as Serena opened her mouth to say something else, he kissed her. Cole, I miss you. After a passionate kiss, Serena gently pushed him away. Her face was flushed, and she was breathing heavily. No, stop. We can't even cuddle to sleep tonight. Cole wanted more, but Serena was insistent. She scrambled back to her spot, sat cross-legged, and cupped her hot cheeks, taking deep breaths. Cole grinned mischievously and opened his arms again in invitation. Serena wrinkled her nose, lifted her chin, and gave him a playful huff. You devil. Her adorable, feisty expression made Cole's thieving heart stir again. He calculated the time. He could probably sneak over and steal a few more kisses. Just as he started to get up, the water in one of the bathrooms suddenly stopped. He sat back down obediently. The master bathroom door opened a crack. Jasmine's voice called out, Cole, bring me your pajamas. Coming. Cole got up and went to the master bedroom to grab them. On the sofa, Serena's cheeks puffed out. She was a little upset. She had worn his pajamas before, but not tonight. But what could she do? Jasmine was the sister he'd grown up with, even if not by blood. She could wear them openly. Suddenly, Serena regretted not just putting them on earlier. But even if she had, what then? She hadn't sorted things out with her mother yet. For a moment, she was torn by a wave of conflicting emotions. Inside the master bedroom, Cole passed the pajamas through the crack in the bathroom door. A smooth, fair arm reached out and took them. Click. The door closed again, blocking Cole's prying eyes. Even though he'd seen it all before, he still wanted to look. Jasmine's body was flawless, her skin smooth and firm. The other 2 were just as perfect, each with their own unique charms, though perhaps not as toned. The visual impact, it was like a restorative spa treatment for his mind and body. Addictive. He was fine when he couldn't see them, but the moment he did, his testosterone level skyrocketed. Cole returned to the living room sofa and immediately noticed Serena looked unhappy. He'd expected it, but there was nothing he could do. He gave her a reassuring look. A short while later, Jasmine and Luna came out. They were each holding a small, damp pair of cotton underwear, one nude, one white. Luna looked a little shy. Here, give it to me, Jasmine said, taking Luna's. She then looked at Serena, holding up a pair of light pink ones with a cartoon bear. I saw yours on the rack, so I washed them for you. Serena blushed. I forgot. Thanks, Jasmine. The last 2 times, she had taken her laundry home with her. The habit hadn't changed yet. Jasmine walked toward the balcony. Seeing Cole's eyes fixed on her hands, she shot him a glare. Turn around. Cole quickly averted his gaze. He'd been spotted before he could even get a good look. Sigh. Fine, don't look. It's not like he hadn't seen them up close before anyway. Soon, 3 pairs of underwear in different colors were fluttering in the night breeze on the balcony. The white cotton ones were a size larger. Cole recognized them. He'd been there when she bought them. They probably wouldn't dry overnight. Tomorrow, he could offer to help, maybe use a hairdryer. What are you smirking about so creepily? Get over here. Help me stretch. Jasmine, noticing Cole's strange grin, gestured with a look of disgust. Huh? Oh, coming. Cole felt a little awkward and a little defiant. What was so creepy? It was a perfectly sunny smile. He'd never helped someone stretch before. When Jasmine took dance classes in middle school, she always did it herself. Cole had even tagged along to her classes on weekends. It was a small group taught by a single mom out of her home. Why did she suddenly need his help tonight? Cole's mind turned, and he quickly guessed her motive. Dancers had to constantly work on their flexibility and splits. Maybe it was genuinely time for her to practice, and at the same time, assert her dominance? He walked over to her. Serena and Luna watched with curiosity. Do you need help stretching? How do you even help? They were about to find out. What do I do, sis? Cole asked, playing dumb. He wanted the other two to think this was his first time. Jasmine answered with her actions. She turned to the side, lifted her right leg high, and straightened it into a standing vertical split. Her leg, clad in oversized cotton sweatpants, pointed straight to the ceiling. She then leaned her entire body toward Cole, completely trusting him not to let her fall. Fortunately, this required no training. Cole understood instantly. He quickly raised his hands, catching her ankle and resting on his left shoulder, holding her steady. His natural talent for helping someone stretch was apparently off the charts. It was a perfect straight split. A pity. It was hidden by sweatpants. Cole felt a twinge of disappointment. Serena and Luna watched, stunned. That's how you stretch? Isn't that a bit weird? But Jasmine was so serious about it, and they were like siblings. What could they say? The pressure of the split was concentrated on her heel, which was digging into Cole's shoulder. It hurt a little, but not only could Cole not complain, he had to keep holding her ankle steady. Sis, can you take off the slipper? He asked, pointing to the slipper dangling right next to his ear. My foot will get cold. Besides, you haven't showered yet, Jasmine said flatly, busy doing her own waist stretches. So Cole just stood there like a piece of equipment, letting Jasmine use him as a ballet bar. She stretched her left leg, then her right, then her left again. If it had been a bare leg, or one clad in silk stockings, it would have been an entirely different, wondrous experience. But alas, it was just bulky sweatpants and a slipper. Cole went numb. On the sofa, Serena and Luna's expressions had turned sour. Jasmine was being far too intimate. They weren't fools. They knew she was doing this for them to see. You can stretch anywhere, so why'd it have to be on Cole's shoulder? The position was incredibly suggestive. In the summer, when she'd be wearing so much less. The thought was unbearable. Serena felt a knot of jealousy. It wasn't just about Cole. It was about Jasmine's poise and figure. She envied her. She had once wanted to learn lyrical dance, but her mother had forbidden it. In the end, she'd had to bury her dream deep inside. She would practice secretly in her room at night, but without a professional teacher, it was just clumsy imitation. After her junior year of high school, she gave it up completely. She could barely manage a split, and the pain in her tendons was sharp. She was nothing like Jasmine, who could practically fold herself in half, and her legs were so straight. Luna was also envious. She'd never had dance training or worked on her flexibility. She had neither the money nor the physical constitution for it. Even jogging was something she did with caution, either terrified for herself or making others terrified for her. During the freshman field training, she'd lived in constant anxiety, binding her chest so tightly it was agony. Thank goodness for Cole. She didn't have to do that anymore. Come closer, Jasmine said. Cole and Jasmine's bodies drew nearer, close enough for her to grip his shoulder. The posture was impossible to look at. By now, Cole's mind was a tangled mess. The gazes from the two girls on the sofa felt like needles. He knew how intimate this pose was, but he couldn't do anything about it. He didn't dare defy Jasmine. When it came to claiming what was hers, she was a force to be reckoned with. If he showed any hesitation, it would deeply wound her pride. She spoiled him so much. He had to indulge her when she was being willful. Even if it upset Serena and Luna right now, he had to grit his teeth and bear it. He would find a way to soothe them later. I'm going to bed, Serena announced airily. She slipped on her slippers and walked straight into the master bedroom. I'm going to bed too. I'm a little tired, Luna said, glancing at Cole. Cole's suffering was unspeakable, but he kept his expression neutral. Okay, you guys go ahead and sleep. Luna opened her mouth, but in the end, said nothing. She followed Serena into the master bedroom and gently closed the door. What's wrong? You look distracted. You don't want to help me stretch. Jasmine's gaze bored into her brother. Seeing the normally mature Jasmine acting so deliberately nonchalant, yet so clearly willful, Cole chuckled inwardly. His sister could be adorable sometimes. All this willfulness was just her way of seeking his attention. The old Cole might have missed it, but not the new one. These little emotional displays were precious treasures to him. Cole took a step forward. He reached out, wrapped an arm around Jasmine's waist, and pulled her into his embrace, holding her leg and all. The two of them were now pressed tightly together in the stretching position. It was a very advanced posture. Hey! Jasmine let out a muffled cry of surprise. The position immediately sparked a strange association in her mind, and her face flushed crimson. But she still tried to hold onto her dissatisfaction. Cole, however, was already cupping the back of her neck with one hand while holding her leg with the other. Before she could react, his lips were on hers. The hand on her neck applied a gentle pressure, kneading softly, making it impossible for her to escape. Not that she wanted to. Her brother's sudden dominance and the familiar scent of his kiss made her melt instantly. Her hands, which had been pushing him away, were now wrapped around his neck. They kissed in that bizarre position. As Cole savored her sweet scent, he calculated the time. Too short, and it wouldn't be sincere. Too long, and they risked being discovered. When a moment was right, he stopped. He stared into her enchanting eyes, looking deep into her pupils. He touched her lips with his own and said in a low voice, "Be good, sis. Listen to me. This is our home now. You need to see the bigger picture, got it?" Jasmine's face grew redder and redder until it was completely flushed. Her gaze seemed to be frozen. After 4 or 5 seconds, she blinked as if waking from a dream. She squeezed Cole's shoulder and whispered, her voice a mix of shyness and anger, "Let me down. Are you going to listen to me or not?" Cole didn't let go, pouring all of his own possessiveness into his eyes. "I'll listen to you, okay?" Jasmine gently stroked his cheek, then added with a playful pout, "You were so rough just now. So domineering." "You're mine," Cole said, then kissed her again before finally setting her down. Right now, Jasmine's mind was filled with the image of her brother's deep eyes, that possessive kiss, and his familiar, masculine scent. His words, especially, were imprinted on her heart, sending waves of emotion through her. She was completely, utterly satisfied. All her earlier discontent had vanished, flown off to the Arctic Ocean. She loved it when Cole showed how much he cared about her. The feeling of fulfillment made her feel like she could fly. "Go on to bed and play nice," Cole said, turning the tables and giving his sister instructions. He was finally growing up. "Like, I need you to tell me what to do. You go take a shower and get to bed early too," Jasmine said, now completely pacified and gentle. Her feelings of rejection toward the other two girls had faded to almost nothing. I'm going to shower now." Just as Cole was about to lean in for another goodnight kiss, the master bedroom door suddenly swung open. He quickly checked his forward momentum, steadied himself, and raised his voice. "Get some sleep. We have a lot to do tomorrow. I'm off to shower. Good night, sis." Just as he was speaking, Luna emerged. When she saw where Cole and Jasmine were standing, the light in her eyes returned to normal. "Luna, why aren't you asleep yet?" Jasmine's expression was also perfectly composed, doing her best to save face for her brother. I wanted to ask, when he sent a message. She said a supplier offered a 10% lower price and wants to sign a long-term contract with us." Luna's eyes darted around. She wasn't good at making up excuses, but she'd lost a game of rock, paper, scissors with Serena, so she was the one who had to come out. "Then let Winnie handle it. See if there's any more room to negotiate. Just have her send me the final terms," Cole said with a nod. He'd take a look this time, but in the future, things like this would be Wendy's responsibility. "Okay." Luna glanced at Cole. Unable to find another reason to stay, she turned and went back into the master bedroom. "Hurry up and take a shower," Jasmine said, following her inside. The door closed, and Cole could faintly hear her talking, but the words were muffled. Cole took a lightning-fast shower and collapsed onto the bed in the guest room. But his mind had already flown next door. 3 girls, 1 bed. What did that even look like? He wished he could get just one peek. Who was sleeping in the middle? He let his imagination run wild for a bit. Then a brilliant thought struck him. It seemed he wouldn't have to worry about changing his sheets anymore. If the 3 of them were sleeping together, their scents would mix. And all their hair was dark. An unexpected bonus. A long-standing problem solved. Listening to the sound of traffic outside, Cole's mind gradually grew calm. He'd passed tonight's test. As long as the 3 darlings next door could get along, he had taken a huge step toward success. Everything was going to be just fine. Meanwhile, in the master bedroom, the three girls were lying in a row, all in their pajamas. Jasmine was in the middle, telling stories about Cole's childhood. It was her way of breaking the ice and making the atmosphere more harmonious. The other two were completely captivated, their earlier jealousy about the leg-stretching incident all but forgotten. After all, she was the sister he'd grown up with. Serena was especially curious about the aftermath of Cole's heroic fight in middle school. She asked if he'd gotten into trouble. Jasmine told the whole story, confirming it was the same incident. No one blamed Cole for lying. They'd simply played along, telling him to be more careful on his bike next time. Serena listened with envy. That kind of relaxed family dynamic was something she longed for. The conversation then shifted to Luna. Serena was most curious about why Luna had been crying that one day and why. She was so well endowed. But after hearing her story, Serena was deeply moved. Compared to Luna, her own life was carefree. Luna's situation was unimaginably difficult. Among the three of them, only Jasmine had lived a truly relaxed life. Serena, what about your family? You've never really mentioned them, Jasmine asked. She only knew they all lived in Linden Creek, but she had no idea what Serena's family did. My family. Serena was trying to figure out how to phrase her answer when her phone rang. Her heart sank. It had to be her mother. She picked it up from the nightstand. Sure enough, it was. But this time, she wasn't worried. She answered the call. Mom, what's up? Serena, are you in your dorm? Her mother's voice was as calm as ever. I am, but not my own room. I'm in another dorm. Asking a senior some questions, Serena said, her expression perfectly natural. Oh, is that so? Helen didn't sound convinced. If you don't believe me, you can listen to my friend's voice. I'll let her talk to you. Serena winked at Jasmine. Senior, it's my mom. She's worried I'm not in my dorm. Jasmine was sharp. She understood immediately. She raised her voice. Hello, Annie? Don't worry. Serena is in our dorm. She can sleep here tonight. One of my roommates went home for a few days. Okay, that's good. As long as you're in the dorms. You girls can chat, but don't stay up too late. Helen's voice on the other end relaxed noticeably, and there was even a hint of a smile in her tone. Okay, Andy, don't worry, Jasmine said. See, Mom? Don't worry. Serena's expression was calm. She knew lying was wrong, but she had no choice. Otherwise, it would be another emotional disaster. After hanging up, Serena let out a long breath, a hint of exhaustion on her face, the sudden release after a wave of anxiety. Then, a cold glint flashed in the depths of her eyes. It was time to have a little chat with her good roommate. It sounds like things aren't easy for you, Jasmine said, a trace of pity in her eyes. She could feel the pressure radiating from the conversation, but it wasn't her place to say more. It was just a mother caring for her daughter. All she could say was that it sounded difficult. Sigh, it's not my mom's fault. I just don't handle pressure well. It was my fate to be born into this family. I enjoy the comforts, but I also have to bear the burdens. Serena's eyes began to glaze over as she recounted what she could. Jasmine and Luna were stunned. Cole's high school classmate, the head of legal for Headline Today, was the daughter of a high-ranking city official. But it wasn't her status that shocked them the most. It was Serena's daily routine, from childhood until now. It was as rigid as a robot's. Outside of class, she had to study ancient political texts, Marxist theory, and memorize current events. She only got 2 hours of free time each weekend day. It sounded horrifying. Throughout the story, Jasmine heard one unspoken word: tired. They talked late into the night, and before they knew it, all three had drifted off to sleep. The next morning, light streamed into the guest room. Cole awoke from a strange dream. He felt like he was being crushed, unable to move. He blinked his eyes open, tried to focus. It was the guest room, but why did he still feel pinned down? Was this a dream within a dream? A familiar milky scent filled his nostrils, and his consciousness snapped into focus. That was Serena's scent. He turned his head in disbelief. Holy Mother of God. His campus queen was lying right next to him in the same bed. Her small face was nestled against his shoulder, her lips moving slightly in her sleep. She looked so peaceful. This wasn't a dream. It was Serena's leg and arm, draped across his stomach and chest. A thunderclap went off in Cole's head. What the hell is going on? Cole felt as if his soul was about to leave his body. Holy crap. If they find out, there's no coming back from this. His mind started to boil, flashing through every possible catastrophic scenario. Each was more disastrous than the last. He turned his head and looked at Serena's rosy little face. So beautiful. He couldn't resist leaning in and planting a soft kiss on her forehead. The little angel on his shoulder folded his hands behind his back and began to recite poetry. In Linden Creek, there's a fair maiden. The little devil was having a full-blown panic attack. What the hell? Made my ass. Do something. Think of a plan, you idiot. Cole snapped back to reality. What was he doing? His world was about to go up in flames, and he was stealing kisses? He forced himself to take a deep breath, trying to cool his overheating brain. First, did the others know? Second, were they awake yet? He strained his ears, listening for any sound. The apartment was silent, save for the distant honk of a car horn from outside. They weren't up yet. Cole grabbed his phone from the nightstand. 7:10 a.m. When did Serena even come in here? How had he slept so soundly that he hadn't noticed a thing? Damn, that stupid dream. He gently took Serena's wrist, slowly and carefully moving her hand aside. He decided to get up, scout out the situation, and wait for an opportunity. Fortunately, she didn't stir. If she had woken up and said something, he'd have been caught red-handed. Cole then gently lifted her long, pajama-clad leg. His brain short-circuited, and his hand couldn't resist a quick, soft pat. Nice. Excellent. Still asleep. He breathed a sigh of relief. Then, inch by inch, he crept to the edge of the bed. Like a thief, he slipped out. He glanced back. Serena was still sleeping soundly. Afraid of waking the girls, Cole didn't even put on slippers. His bare feet hit the cold floor. The chill was invigorating. He tiptoed to the door, turned the knob with excruciating care, and peeked into the living room. No one. It was quiet. He opened the door and crept out, his cat-like steps practiced and smooth. The master bedroom door was open. His heart leaped into his throat, and the hair on his arms stood on end. No way. Don't tell me they already found out and just left? He crept silently toward the master bedroom and peered inside. The bed was empty. The covers were thrown back. Crap. It's over. Did they really just leave? The thought of Jasmine and Luna's heartbroken faces made Cole's heart twist into a knot. Imagining a future where they never spoke to him again, the pain was like a physical blow. He allowed himself a moment of grief, then forcibly reined in his anxiety. Calm down. Calm down. First observe. Analyze objectively. Think rationally. Draw conclusions based on facts. Deal with the emotions later. The mental fortitude he'd built during his past life's career kicked in, forcing him to cool down. He walked into the master bedroom. His pajamas were hanging in the closet. He went into the master bathroom. The sink was wet. Cole rushed back to the living room. It was only then that he noticed the 3 laptops were still on the coffee table. By the front door, next to the shoe cabinet, were 2 pairs of slippers. But Jasmine and Luna's shoes were gone. An idea struck him. The bed wasn't made, which was out of character for Jasmine. No matter how upset she was always tidy. But she had hung up her pajamas. The laptops were still here. The bathroom had been used. Could it be that Jasmine had taken Luna out for an early morning run and to buy breakfast? And that Serena had then snuck into his room and accidentally fallen asleep? Clinging to this desperate hope, Cole raced to the balcony and peered down into the complex. He didn't see them. This side only offered a limited view. He then rushed to the small utility balcony by the kitchen and looked down again. Still nothing. Cole's heart sank. There were only 2 possibilities now. 1, they had seen him and Serena together and left in anger and sorrow. 2, they had gone out for a run and to get breakfast. He had a hope it was the second. It was a gamble. He hurried back to the guest room. He gently lifted a corner of the comforter, bent down, and slid his arms under Serena's knees and neck. With a slight effort, he lifted her. The sudden change in temperature from the warm bed made her curl up, her 2 pale feet rubbing together. Cole carried her quickly to the master bedroom. The moment he laid her down, the still sleeping Serena let out a soft moan. "Sure, babe, it's okay. Go back to sleep," Cole whispered, tucking her in. "Okay," Serena murmured, her eyes still closed, responding as if in a dream. Cole stroked her cheek. Back in the warmth of the bed, Serena rolled over comfortably and fell back into a deep sleep. Suppressing the heavy weight in his heart, Cole returned to the balcony and looked down again. Still no sign of them. He could see the main gate of the complex from here. He stood there, frozen, praying he would see Jasmine and Luna appear, carrying bags of breakfast. In that moment, the swagger of the Blackened King was gone. All that remained was a desperate young man clinging to a sliver of hope. After nearly 30 minutes, his bare feet on the cold tiles were numb. He was only wearing pajamas, and the chilly morning air, barely 40 degrees, had left him shivering. But Cole seemed oblivious to the cold. He just stared blankly at the distant gate. His heart had sunk to the bottom of the pit. So much time had passed. Serena had been asleep next to him for at least half an hour. Adding it all up, they should have been back from a run and breakfast by now. But they weren't. It had to be the first possibility. They had really left. Jasmine's laptop was still here, probably forgotten in her anger. Luna's laptop was his, so of course she hadn't taken it. A look of anguish crossed Cole's face. It was over. This was probably the end for them. He had really screwed up this time. He'd lost the sister who spoiled him. He'd lost the little girl who clung to him. They might stay a headline today, but things would never be the same. Or maybe they would quit immediately and cut all ties. Involuntarily, Cole's mind flooded with memories of all the good times with Jasmine and Luna. The sweet moments came rushing back. Jasmine would never bite him again, would she? Luna would never call him brother again, would she? Life was so damn unpredictable. Last night, they were stealing kisses, and this morning their world had shattered. And who was to blame? Only himself, for his greed. Why hadn't he just gone back to his dorm last night? If he had, none of this would have happened. The pain of loss was sharp and intense. Cole's heart felt like it was being squeezed and twisted, suffocating him. It was 1,000 times worse than any rejection he'd ever faced in this life or the last. The two consciousnesses in his mind waged a furious battle. The love and reluctance to lose Jasmine and Luna occupied the center stage. The cold, player vibe he'd cultivated in the past was pushed into a back corner. Though it fought back, trying to rescue him from his despair, the power of his genuine feelings was too strong. It pinned his darker self with a single finger. Just as Cole was sinking into his pain, unable to escape, he heard the sound of a key turning in the lock of the front door. Cole's head snapped around. A spark of hope ignited in the depths of his soul. Were they back? Or did Jasmine just remember she'd left her laptop? If so, how was he supposed to face her? Try to explain what she'd already seen. His heart twisted. He felt like a condemned man, hanging by a thread over a cliff. The sound of the door opening was that thin rope. He clung to it, terrified it would snap. The door clicked open. Standing there, holding bags of breakfast, were Jasmine and Luna. The moment they stepped inside, they smiled at Cole. But as they changed into their slippers, they seemed to notice something was off. A closer look revealed that he was only in his pajamas, barefoot, with his hair sticking up in odd places. And his expression was strange. "Cole, what's with the get-up? Aren't you cold?" Jasmine's smile vanished, replaced by a scolding tone. "What are you thinking? Go get dressed before you catch a cold." "You'll get sick, brother," Luna added, her voice full of concern. "What are you standing there for? Go put on some clothes." Jasmine snapped. Seeing the two of them, his two returned darlings, Cole felt like he'd just been on a roller coaster. A terrifying plunge and a dizzying spin, followed by a slow, gentle stop. His heart trembled. A powerful warmth flooded his nearly stalled heart, spreading through his entire body. He rushed toward them, overcome with emotion. Without a word, he wrapped his arms around both of them, one on the left, one on the right, pulling their two differently scented bodies into a tight embrace. The two girls were stunned. What was wrong with him? Jasmine held the breakfast away from them to keep it from spilling. She could feel something was off with her brother, but she didn't know why. He was holding them so tightly. Her face was pressed against his neck, and she couldn't move. "What's wrong, Cole?" she asked softly. But there was no answer. Jasmine's gaze traveled over his shoulder, and she saw another head. Huh. On his other shoulder, Luna looked up at the same time. Their eyes met over the back of Cole's neck. It was incredibly awkward. They both quickly looked away, silent. They wanted to pull away, but something about Cole felt so fragile right now that they let him hold on, even as their hearts bristled at the presence of the other. It was a deeply conflicting feeling. "Cole, what's wrong with you? Say something." Jasmine asked again. Luna whispered very softly into his ear, "Brother, what's the matter?" In that moment, Cole's heart felt as full and ecstatic as if he'd just hit his first home run. They really had just gone out for breakfast. Thank God. He hadn't lost them, but the sheer joy and relief of getting them back after thinking he had flooded his heart. He thought he could handle it, but the gut-wrenching pain had been merciless, seizing control of his mind and body. Even a blackened king could be easily defeated when consumed by the fear of loss. "Phew, close call." The little devil in his mind gasped. For a second there, I thought it was all over, that we'd have to listen to Elliott Smith on repeat for a week. The little angel looked on with contempt. "Have you no shame? Those songs are for losing one person. You're juggling 3. How dare you even think about it?" The opening chords would be too embarrassed to play. Breathing in the scent of their hair, Cole's sanity returned. His dying soul revived, his consciousness rebooted. As the pain subsided, he realized how uncool he was being. He had lost his composure, his calm, CEO demeanor. He felt like an idiot who'd done something stupid. He said, his words not quite matching his feelings, "I'm fine. I just felt so bad thinking about you two going out to get breakfast so early." He had felt bad, but now he was better. The girls must have used a different side gate. In his panic, Combined with his unfamiliarity with the complex, he hadn't even considered it. What's there to feel bad about? It's your own fault for sleeping in. Next time, you can go, Jasmine said, then immediately regretted it. A next time where all three of them slept here? Probably not a good idea. It would be better if it were just her. It's okay, brother. You're usually so tired, you should sleep more, Luna said softly. Her gaze flickered over Cole's shoulder, glancing at the hair of the girl on the other side. Just as Cole was about to speak, Serena's surprised voice came from the master bedroom. What are you guys doing? Jasmine and Luna immediately broke free. Being hugged together was one thing, but being caught by a fourth person was excruciatingly awkward. The ownership was just so unclear. If it had been just one of them being hugged, who cared if someone saw? Leaning against the doorframe of the master bedroom, Serena's sleepy eyes were filled with confusion. She looked from one person to the next. Cole turned to face her, letting out an awkward laugh. Haha, they went out so early to get breakfast. I was so moved, I was just giving them a hug to say thanks. He hadn't been caught with Serena, but he had been caught by her. Cole, go put on some clothes. Jasmine tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, walking nonchalantly to the dining table to set down the breakfast. Luna used the opportunity to mask her own awkwardness. Serena, hurry and brush your teeth. Time for breakfast. Serena? Cole's heart stirred. It seemed they had gotten along well last night. He quickly chimed in, Oh, right, I forgot to brush my teeth. I had a weird dream this morning and overslept. He hurried off to the guest room. He couldn't stand the cold a second longer. Hearing this, Serena's cheeks flushed slightly. She hurried back to the bed to get dressed. This morning, she had vaguely heard Jasmine and Luna getting up, saying they were going for a run and to get breakfast. The moment the front door closed, she had slipped into Cole's room. She had only meant to lie next to him for a little while, just to soothe her restless heart. But that little while had turned into a deep sleep, and when she woke up, she was back in her own bed. She had been aware when Cole moved her. She was just too comfortable to wake up. It was only when she heard Jasmine ask, Cole, what's wrong? That she'd rushed out to see. And who knew? A hug just for buying breakfast? Babe is not happy. Serena got dressed and went to the master bathroom. As she relieved herself, she pondered. A hug for both of them? It was so ambiguous, it was almost unbelievable. Jasmine's personality was so strong. Could it really have been just a hug of gratitude? By the time she was done, her little bit of unhappiness had faded. If he'd been hugging just one of them, that would be a problem. But both of them? It really was possible that nothing else was going on. In the other bathroom, Cole was humming a tune as he brushed his teeth, feeling completely carefree. He washed his face and admired his handsome reflection in the mirror, feeling very satisfied with himself. The four of them sat down together for breakfast, discussing the day's tasks. Mostly, it was Cole talking, teaching the three girls how to counterattack. Everyone at Headline today was ready. Some were assigned to direct rebuttals, others to reverse psychology, praising their rival to death. Some were tasked with digging up facts to provide the daggers for the praise-to-kill strategy. The rival site, Headliner, didn't have a personalized recommendation feature. For most of its ordinary users, the only audience for their work was themselves. The creation platform was also crude, a clumsy imitation of a tiger that ended up looking like a dog. Cole wasn't worried about Headliner causing any real damage. Its downfall was inevitable. He was just using this as an opportunity to build cohesion at Headline today, to unite the entire staff against a common enemy. This was where the good pay and benefits paid off. Even though it meant working on a weekend, they got overtime pay. More importantly, the employees felt like they had poured their own blood, sweat, and tears into the company. Even the promotions team, who weren't originally part of the plan, insisted on being involved. Cole leaned in close to the three girls, pointing at things on their screens, breathing in their different scents, one here, another there. He was perfectly content, but after lunch, he wilted. His head felt heavy, his nose was on fire, and he was burning up with a high fever. Jasmine hadn't heard Cole's chatter for a while, nor had she felt him sneakily nuzzling her earlobe. She turned her head and saw him leaning back on the sofa, limp and pale, his face and lips flushed red. His uncharacteristic state sent a jolt of alarm through her. Sitting in the middle, she scrambled over the back of the sofa, behind Serena. Cole, what's wrong with you? She pressed the back of her hand to his forehead. Oh my God, you're burning up. You have a fever. Serena and Luna were startled into action, dropping what they were doing and crowding around him. They both touched his forehead. He's so hot. It's a bad fever. All three girls looked frantic. Cole, we're going to the clinic just outside the complex, Jasmine said, gently shaking his shoulder. Jasmine, we should take him to the hospital, Serena countered, feeling a hospital was more reliable. Let's try the clinic first. Brother definitely can't walk. We'll help him up, and I'll carry him, Luna said, already rolling up the sleeves of her coat. Cole kept his eyes closed, with no energy to speak. He felt like his whole body was on fire, and his head was pounding. He hadn't been sick in a long, long time, apart from his bout with COVID years ago. Cole, wake up, hang in there. We're going to clinic. Cole, brother. Cole felt several hands touching his head and body. He exhaled a hot breath, forcing himself to look awake and relaxed. He spoke clearly. I'm fine. I just need to sleep it off. How can you be fine when you're burning up like this? Be good and listen to me. There's a clinic right outside, Jasmine said, her heart aching. Brother, please go to the clinic. I'll carry you. Cole, a shot will make you better faster. Don't worry, I'm really fine. It's just a little fever, Cole said, shaking his head weakly but firmly. Being carried by a girl? What would that look like? Cold-Shun couldn't bear the shame. It was just a cold. A nap would fix everything. The three of them tried to persuade him further, but he wouldn't budge. Defeated, they changed their plan from the clinic to the bedroom. Cole, lie down in bed. I'll go buy you some medicine, Jasmine said, helping him up. Serena immediately pitched in, each of them taking one of his shoulders. With no room to help, Luna knelt anxiously on the sofa, wrapping her arms around Cole's back to provide support. Dazed, Cole knew he couldn't win this argument, and he didn't want them to worry more by thinking it was too serious. He took a deep breath and sat up straight. Okay, I'll go lie down. Don't worry about me. You guys carry on. The moment he stood up, a wave of dizziness washed over him, and he felt nauseous. The sensation of being sick was foreign to him now, and he wasn't adjusting well. Jasmine and Serena supported him on either side. Jasmine called out to Luna, Luna, go to the pharmacy and get some medicine. Make sure you tell them it's for a fever. And a headache and some nausea, Cole added. Just get the Dayquil/NyQuil combo pack and some ibuprofen. Nothing else. Pharmacy staff sometimes pushed unnecessary drugs, and he didn't trust them. He didn't want Luna to have to make a second trip. The tablets seemed to work faster than the capsules. Okay, I'm going right now, Luna said, running out the door. The two girls helped Cole to the master bedroom. Once he was lying down, Cole felt completely unwilling to move. His body was in a state of inertia. His immune cells were launching a fierce assault on the virus. His eyes were bloodshot. Jasmine took off his slippers and lifted his legs onto the bed. She then sat on the edge, her eyes full of pity as she stroked his burning face. Serena also sat down, her hand resting on the comforter, her heart filled with worry. Neither of them was in the mood to work anymore. Less than 10 minutes later, Luna burst back in, panting, holding the 2 types of medicine Cole had asked for. She put them down and went out again, returning with a bottle of mineral water. They hadn't used the kitchen, so room temperature water would have to do. After taking the medicine, Cole drifted into a feverish sleep. The 3 girls, though worried, were more concerned that sitting there would wake him. They closed the door and returned to the living room, but their hearts weren't in the PR battle anymore. Jasmine saw a few employees tag Cole in the group chat, asking for advice on some talking points. After a moment's thought, she sent a message to the marketing director, Whitney Yuan. Director Yuan, Cole has a high fever. I'm going to have to ask you to take the lead for now. Is he okay? Whitney replied instantly. It's a high fever. He just took some medicine and is resting. Okay, got it. Is he in his dorm? No, he's at. Jasmine sent the address directly. There was no need to hide the boss's location from the core employees. She hadn't interacted much with Whitney, so she didn't know the director was famously direct and straight shooting. When Cole next woke up, he found his room full of people. The 4 core members of the development team were there. Several directors and managers were present. Even Wendy and Brianna were there. The hand on his forehead belonged to Yvonne. Cole, you doing okay? Yvonne asked, giving his cheek a little pat. Still pretty hot. Cole, boss. A flurry of voices called out. Wyatt wanted to check his temperature too, but he was too shy to push through the group of girls. Seeing the worried faces of his upperclassmen, Cole was moved to the point of tears. Guys, I just have a cold. With this kind of reception, you're making me feel like I'm on my deathbed. Puffed. Someone couldn't hold back a laugh. Everyone turned to look. Of course, it was Fiona, the head of the editing department, known for writing angsty billionaire revenge novels. Only her brain could switch between normal and abnormal so seamlessly. The boss is sick as a dog, and you're laughing? Still, it was a little funny. Everyone else managed to hold it in. I'm fine, thanks everyone. It's just a little cold. No need to make a big fuss. You should all head back, Cole said with a smile. He appreciated their concern. All right then. Rest up, Cole, Wyatt said. Yeah, don't worry. Fiona, get back to work. If headline today goes under, I'm coming to your place for dinner. The boss held a small grudge. How dare you laugh, Fiona? My place might not work. My brother just got married, and my new sister-in-law gives me the cold shoulder when I visit. Ha! She'd abandon her own family for the ancestral home, Fiona said with dead seriousness, followed by a cold laugh. Cole sighed wearily. The ancestral home you're talking about. Isn't that the two-story brick house in town you've mentioned before? That's the one. Fiona nodded. Oh, for crying out loud. Cole closed his eyes in exhaustion. Arguing with someone who had completely lost themselves in writing about ridiculously wealthy families was just asking for punishment. Let's all go sit outside. Let Cole get some more rest, Jasmine said, exasperated. She had no idea they would all show up. Seeing that Cole was basically okay, the group relaxed. This freshman was the soul of their company. He absolutely could not go down. They stayed for a little while longer before leaving. In the evening, Cole took another dose of medicine and continued to sleep fitfully, sweating profusely but too out of it to care. Vaguely, he felt someone wiping him down. In the middle of the night, Cole's eyes opened. He felt weak, but his head didn't hurt as much. His mind was much clearer. He closed his eyes and rolled over, figuring he'd be mostly recovered by morning. But then, a sweet, fragrant breath washed over his face. He opened his eyes. Before him was Jasmine's beautiful face, sound asleep. But there was another sound of breathing. He blinked a few times, slowly straightened his body, and turned his head to the other side. Serena's small face came into view. It was only then that he realized his feet were touching something soft. Huh? Don't tell me. The bed was filled with the different scents of the girls, and his feet were touching something soft. Cole's heart began to pound furiously. A moment ago, he'd felt sick, but suddenly he was wide awake and full of energy. A mere illness couldn't possibly stand in the way of his carnal desires. Just as Cole was about to stealthily reach out with his devilish hands, alarm bells went off in his head. Something was wrong. He noticed a strange detail. The two girls on either side of him weren't pressed up against him. There was a small gap, the space of a body between them. This was very interesting. Knowing Jasmine and Serena, they would have definitely snuggled up close. But they hadn't. This was highly problematic. Could it be a trap? Cole guessed that they were lying next to him to make it easier to take care of him. The gap was a sign of their modesty and self-respect. To sleep next to another girl while cuddling Cole, their personalities wouldn't allow it. The fact that they were here at all was likely an unspoken agreement. It was highly possible the two of them had reached some sort of delicate equilibrium. However, the possibility of a trap was extremely high. They wanted to see how he, Cole-chun, would react. Girls' minds were strange sometimes. They would occasionally create a little drama, stir up some trouble, just to assert their presence. And, at his feet, Cole craned his neck slightly. The lump under the covers at the foot of the bed had to be Luna, but she was lying horizontally. What his feet were touching was either her stomach or her natural assets. He felt a pang of sympathy for her. Under normal circumstances, only one person would have stayed to take care of him. The fact that all three were here meant they didn't trust leaving him alone with just one of them. Cole carefully sat up, inching his way out of the bed. Even though he was surrounded by a sea of feminine softness, he had to leave immediately. This was a dangerous feast, not to be lingered at. Besides, Cole couldn't bear the thought of Luna sleeping at his feet. That was just wrong. Luna might not have minded in the moment, wanting to stay close, but the disparity between sleeping head-to-head and sleeping at someone's feet would inevitably create a sense of inferiority. The best solution was for Cole himself to go to the guest room. That would remove the source of the conflict. No matter how the three of them slept then, their minds would be at ease. Cole could even imagine Luna, too shy to claim a spot next to him, but too reluctant to leave. He quietly slipped out of bed, still feeling a little dizzy. It was then that he noticed a dry towel tucked inside the front of his pajama shirt to absorb the sweat. He walked to the foot of the bed and gently stroked Luna's cheek before tiptoeing out of the room. He lay down on the bed in the guest room, feeling a mix of reluctance and relief. As the old saying goes, endure bitterness today to become a master of men tomorrow. Forgo a moment of pleasure for a lifetime of bliss. To become a great man. Never mind. He had avoided a catastrophe today, and that was a blessing in itself. He didn't dare take advantage of the situation and make a move on both of them. If one of them found out, it would be a deep wound to them both. Given their conservative values, they would never be able to accept it. These were girls who were shy about showing too much leg in a skirt. Sharing a bed with him and each other was their absolute limit, and only because of these special circumstances. A moment of pleasure or a lifetime of it. Cole knew which to choose. In the master bedroom, the deep silence of the night was so profound you could hear a pin drop. Luna's eyelashes fluttered, but she didn't open her eyes. Her lips puckered slightly. She hadn't been asleep at all. How could she not feel wronged, sleeping at his feet? But at the time, she'd been too shy to fight for a spot. She couldn't bring herself to say that she should be the one lying next to Cole, taking care of him. She was afraid of causing a fight and making things difficult for him. But if she didn't stay, she would be too worried. So, she had lain at the foot of the bed, letting his feet rest against her, a small claim on his presence. She hadn't made a sound when Cole got up. Her heart felt a little bit sour, a little bit unhappy. How could she be happy when two other girls were lying next to her brother? But when Cole's hand had touched her face, all her unhappiness vanished. It was as if their hearts were connected. She understood that he was showing her he cared, and that was enough. She was afraid of being ignored, like someone holding out their heart, silently waiting for their love, only to watch them laugh and chat with someone else, completely oblivious. But she was lucky. Her love had seen her and had come over immediately to give her the reassurance she craved. She knew she was the lucky one. Cole cherished her. That warm hand made her so happy she wanted to cry. And she was terrified of him getting frisky with the other girls in front of her. That was something she could never accept. But he had woken up and gone next door, not taking advantage of anyone. A wave of relief washed over Luna. The exhaustion from staying up half the night finally hit her, and she fell asleep almost instantly. On the other side of the bed, Jasmine was also awake. 1. She was worried Cole's fever would return in the middle of the night. 2. She wanted to know what Serena was up to. And more importantly, she wanted to know if her brother would make a move on Serena. Even though he was sick, he was still a man, and as long as a man was breathing. At first, Serena had just been helping take care of him and had naturally lain down on the other side. But she had fallen asleep almost immediately. Jasmine couldn't bring herself to wake her. Instead, she had pulled Cole a little closer to her own side, away from Serena. Her pride wouldn't let her get too close either. She just wanted to see if he would do anything when he woke up. She wasn't too worried about the one at their feet. When Cole got up, she had almost stopped him. But then she remembered his fever was gone, and besides, it wasn't appropriate for him to be lying there. So she let him go. A flicker of relief and pride went through her. Her brother, as lecherous as he was, had a sense of propriety. Fine, be lecherous, she thought. As a reward, I'll satisfy you myself some other day. On the other pillow, Serena's eyes fluttered open. She had indeed been asleep at first, but had woken up a short while later, remembering her mission. When she saw that Jasmine and Luna showed no signs of leaving, she had claimed one side of the bed as a defensive position. Under normal circumstances, she knew this kind of co-sleeping would never happen. But Cole was sick. They were all there to take care of him. One had the status of a sister. The other was his CFO and had such a difficult life. Her heart softened, and she couldn't bring herself to say anything. But she was still unhappy. Cole waking up and going to the other room was the best possible outcome. Otherwise, how awkward would it have been in the morning? For Cole, he really did have a sense of propriety. In the dark master bedroom, 3 warm intentions pulsed in the void. Though their thoughts were different, they were all at peace. The next day, the weather was clear and sunny. The 3 girls slept until past 8 o'clock. Luna had shifted from lying horizontally to vertically. They all woke up around the same time, the atmosphere harmonious. No one seemed surprised that the patient was missing from the bed. Jasmine finished washing up and was about to check on Cole in the guest room when she heard the front door click. Cole came in, his hands full of breakfast. "Perfect timing," he said with a smile. "I was just about to wake you guys up. Cole, why didn't you sleep in? Are you feeling better?" Jasmine walked over, her face full of concern. Today, her brother seemed especially pleasing to the eye, more so than ever before. "Pretty much better, sis. It was nice to get some fresh air," Cole said, setting the breakfast on the table. He brought a bowl of beef pho for each of them, plus shumai and soup dumplings to share, and soy milk. He was still a little dizzy and figured he'd need another day of rest to fully recover. Jasmine felt his forehead. The fever was gone. "You need to take your medicine after this, and then go back to sleep." "Yeah, okay." "Cole, are you feeling better?" Serena came over and also felt his forehead, her eyes full of concern. "Much better. Come on, let's eat," Cole smiled. Jasmine, who had already sat down, watched them, her expression flickering slightly. Luna tied up her hair and walked over to Cole, studying his complexion carefully. "Does your head still hurt?" she asked softly. "Not anymore, Lou. Come sit down and eat before the noodles get clumpy." "Okay, I'll boil some water for you later. You should drink more hot water." Luna had bought a new electric kettle yesterday. "Okay, thanks, Lou," Cole said with a nod. He then quickly picked up a shumai and placed it in Jasmine's bowl. "Sis, try this. The owner said they're really good." He had already noticed the subtle shift in Jasmine's expression. It was different from before, though. At least she wasn't scowling. So he quickly made a preemptive move, playing the part of the attentive, even-handed man. Okay. Jasmine's gaze softened. She picked up the shumai and took a bite. The sour feeling in her heart vanished, replaced by a small thrill of satisfaction. After breakfast, Cole took his medicine and went back to sleep, staying in bed for the entire day. The three girls stayed with him for another day, and it wasn't until Monday morning that they all took a cab back to campus together. Back in room 1520 at Headline Today's office. Cole, you feeling better? Boss, why didn't you take another day off? Cole. The upperclassmen all expressed their concern. However, there was a strange, envious glint in their eyes. The boss truly was the ultimate collector of campus beauties. They had all assumed he was just in the talking stages with them, but who would have thought they'd all be seen in the same apartment? And it was the three most beautiful girls on campus by popular consensus. None of the other so-called campus beauties circulating online, even with makeup, had that certain something. The boss was a legend. Only Yvonne's expression was normal. Cole gathered the 4 core members of the development team into the small conference room for a meeting to check on the app's progress. Cole, we're going to have to compress the video resolution quite a bit. Our current bandwidth isn't enough, said Marcus, who was in charge of the video framework. That's fine. A few seconds for short clips is enough. That, plus articles, news, trending lists, and the novels will be plenty, Cole said. He knew it wasn't the right time for video. 4G wouldn't be widely available until late 2013. By then, cloud storage server costs would also be lower, but smartphones would start to become widespread in 2011. Launching the Headline Today app was perfectly timed. He emphasized again, the desktop version is just a transition. The mobile app is our future. Wyatt and his team didn't quite understand why Cole was so certain. The PC was still dominant. Most people use computers. They had their doubts during development and had often felt the urge to question his strategy. But in the end, their trust in him won out, and they pushed forward. Cole saw the look on their faces and smiled. Trust me, in the future, you'll all become incredibly wealthy because of the Headline Today app. Once Headline Today took off, he would definitely give them equity. Profit was always the strongest bond. Wyatt and the other three exchanged glances and laughed awkwardly. Incredibly wealthy? They couldn't even imagine what that meant. But if Cole said he could make the money, they believed him. The success of the website was the best proof. Without his guidance, the most they would have created was a generic portal website, or they'd be working as front-end developers at some big tech company. If they were lucky, they might have landed a job as a framework engineer at a state-owned enterprise. The user interaction and social features still need optimization. We'll need about 2 more months before we can officially launch, Wyatt estimated. Okay, no rush. My only requirement is that the client is stable. I don't mind if it takes a little longer, Cole said with a wave of his hand, as long as it was ready within 3 months. In that time, they would ramp up promotions to build a solid foundation for the app's launch. After the meeting, Cole sent Luna a message. Lou, how much cash do we have on the books? She must have been in class, because she replied half an hour later. Brother, we have about $200,300. Okay, got it. Cole now had a clear picture. It didn't sound like much, but he'd already recouped almost all his initial costs for the tea shop and Headline Today. During the restaurant promotion event, Mr. Summers from the Hot Pot Place had renewed for another $15,000. Others had renewed for smaller amounts, and the marketing department had brought in new clients. But this was all small money. The real explosion for Headline Today had yet to come. Immediately, Cole called Yvonne over and gave her new assignment. Yvonne, expand the team and set up offices in 3 more cities. And find an assistant for yourself. It's going to be a busy time for you, so be prepared. Cole, aren't you coming on the business trip with me? Yvonne blinked. How about you give me half of your director's salary? Cole said, exasperated. Sure, if we go on the trip together. Yvonne shot back, lifting her chin defiantly. I'm being serious. Cole glared at her. Fine, I get it, Yvonne said, putting on a wronged expression. I'm counting on you, Yvonne, Cole said, his tone serious. That made her drop the playful act. She nodded solemnly. Don't worry, you can leave it to me. Cole had full confidence in her. Yvonne only slacked off when she was around him. When she was working independently, she was a force of nature. The two of them then studied a map and decided on the next 3 cities. That afternoon, at the law school, after the last class of the day, Serena was just walking out of the classroom when Zoe called out from behind her. Serena, want to go to the cafeteria together? Sure, Serena said, stopping with a smile on her face. Zoe's face lit up. She hadn't been to the cafeteria with her roommate in days. Serena's attitude put her at ease. She probably didn't know that Zoe had become her mother's informant. The two of them walked toward Oakwood Commons. Serena, the law school is having a legal culture festival essay contest soon. Are you going to participate? Zoe asked. Probably not. I've been reading up on corporate law recently, Serena said coolly. Isn't that a bit advanced? I thought you were aiming for a government job. Why aren't you studying criminal law? Zoe was confused. I am. But you can still study corporate law while preparing for the civil service exam, Serena said, her gaze fixed on the distance, seeming even more remote. Are you really planning to continue with that, Cole? Zoe's question was cut short. Zoe, I used to have a classmate, Serena said, glancing sharply at her roommate before continuing in a casual tone. A relative of mine got her a job. But then, my relationship with her soured. Zoe didn't get it at first and felt a surge of indignation. What's wrong with your friend? I know, right? She couldn't tell which side she should be on, Serena said with a look of regret. She even tattled on me to my relative. And then, I told her. Here, Serena paused and looked directly at Zoe. Told her what? Zoe's heart started to pound. Zoe wasn't an idiot. She already sensed something was wrong, but she clung to a sliver of hope. Serena's lips curved into a faint smile. I told her that even if my relative gave her a good job in the future, I could make sure she ended up at the lowest level, stuck there for the rest of her life. Because no matter what, that's my relative, not hers. After saying this, Serena turned her gaze calmly toward the cafeteria ahead. Zoe's face went white. If she still didn't understand by now, she was a complete fool. The classmate was clearly her. Serena knew. How she knew didn't matter. Even if her own mother had let it slip. What was she going to do, complain? Serena, I was just talking about my old classmate. Why are you so nervous? Serena said, not even looking at her. Zoe stammered, wanting to say something but not daring to. She couldn't afford to offend either side. She had been greedy for the promise from Serena's mother, a guarantee of a good position in the future. But Serena's words had been a cold splash of water. It was true. Even if she got a good job, if Serena said the word, she'd likely be transferred to some remote county or even a backwater town. Who was more important to a powerful official? A mole or their own daughter? People always cling to foolish hopes. If Cole had been there, he would have laughed and told her she was nothing in front of an old fox. If you'd sell out your own roommate, how could anyone ever trust you? I wanted to tell my classmate that she could continue, Serena said as she entered the cafeteria, as if talking to herself. As long as she remains my friend, I won't interfere with whatever she gets in the future. Zoe, a step behind, heard every word clearly. She felt a mix of disappointment and relief. Disappointment, because she could never be true friends with Serena again. Relief, because Serena wouldn't use her family's power to screw her over. The condition was that she had to be a good friend from now on. That wasn't hard. Serena, I'm sure your classmate understands your kindness. Serena acted as if she hadn't heard, already picking out her food. What happened to her roommate in the future had nothing to do with her, as long as she played her part correctly. The weather that evening was pleasant. The temperature in the low 50s had brought out a number of couples to the campus track and its more secluded spots. The Frank and Javi duo from Cole's dorm were out on a scouting mission, which was what they called their attempts to hit on girls while taking photos. Cole hadn't gone anywhere. He was packing a bag and gathering documents. First thing in the morning, he was going to pick up his newly issued travel permits and make a trip. He needed an offshore bank account and an offshore company, urgently. After packing, Cole notified his directors of his travel plans. Jasmine was the first to message him. Cole, what are you going there for? You've never been. Do you want me to come with you? Cole, it's okay, sis. I won't wander around. I'll be back as soon as the company is registered. He knew she probably didn't have the right travel documents and couldn't wait. Yvonne also messaged him. Cole, it's not a good idea for you to go alone. I should go with you. Cole, you have your own business trip to handle. Luna, brother, that's so far away. Cole, it's fine, don't worry. I'll be back soon. Serena's message, however, was different. Cole, let me find someone to handle it for you. I don't want you to go so far away. Cole considered it. That was a good idea. Someone like Mr. Zhao, the lawyer, will be perfect. He could pay for the service. But he also worried about putting Serena in a difficult position. Babe, I can pay for it. I just don't want it to be too much trouble for anyone. It's not. They make money from it, too. Okay, if you could ask, that would be great. If it was a paid service, that was just business. Much simpler. And with Serena's connection, it would surely go smoothly. Half an hour later, Serena replied. Cole, it's the same lawyer, Mr. Zhao. My Uncle Arthur said you can call him. He's been there many times. Cole was thrilled. This was perfect. Thanks, babe. You went to a lot of trouble. You forgot the kisses at the end. Sad emoji kiss, emoji kiss, emoji kiss, emoji. Cole immediately called Mr. Zhao. The phone rang 3 times before he picked up. It sounded like he was in a loud karaoke lounge. Hello, Mr. Zhao, this is cold, Chun. I know. Go ahead, mister. Zhao said, the background noise gradually fading. I'd like to register an offshore company and open an account, and I was hoping you could handle it for me. Cole had expected some hesitation, but the lawyer agreed readily. No problem, but there are fees, of course. I'll go personally, so you'll have to cover my travel expenses as well. Of course. Don't worry about that, mister. Zhao, you know the registration fee, right? I do. 10,000. Cole had done his research. He knew he could do it for less, but a higher initial capital deposit would allow for larger transfers. He needed the maximum. Good. Get your documents ready. If you're in a hurry, I can come pick them up tomorrow. If not, you could just express mail them. It'll only be a day's delay. Mailing is fine. A day's delay is no problem. Remember to include a letter of authorization and transfer the money in advance. I don't have the cash to front you. No problem. The smoothness of it all was a relief to Cole. Not having to travel himself was a huge plus. He could stay and negotiate with more local businesses. This offshore account was critical. First, it would be used to receive his Bitcoin profits. Transferring from an exchange to an offshore account was direct and convenient. Doing it domestically was not. Besides, Bitcoin had been rising steadily since March. Transaction volumes weren't huge, but his sales were among them. People were starting to notice Bitcoin now, so every time he listed some for sale, someone would buy it, likely to use as dark currency. Second, he would use the offshore company to inject capital into headline today in the future. The transfers would be unlimited and unaffected by domestic policies. This was all groundwork that had to be laid early. Most major Chinese companies had offshore accounts for operational flexibility. For the next week, Cole was consumed with meeting business owners, leading the promotions team in Yvonne's absence. He worked until 8 or 9 every night, so busy he didn't even have time to appreciate Jasmine's silk stockings. He only managed to have a few meals with the 3 girls. They were just as busy. Their accounting and law school classes were demanding, and Jasmine was studying for her grad school exams. Everyone was focused on their own path. That night, Cole had just gotten back to his dorm when he got a call from Fiona in the editing department. He was surprised. Fiona never called. Yo, Fiona, what's up? Cole, something huge has happened. Cole, it's a huge deal. Well, spit it out. Are you trying a new plot twist on me? Headliner. There's a story about you. You have to see it for yourself. It's terrifying. I was born terrified, Cole said, hanging up. He then called Luna and asked her to check what was on Arrival's site. A little while later, Luna called back. Brother, they took pictures of us. Pictures? So what? As long as they got my good side. Cole was joking, but his mind was already wondering who had the balls to do this. Luna continued, It's a picture of you, me, and Serena, walking into campus together that morning. And what they wrote is really nasty. Oh, how nasty? Cole was puzzled. That was last Monday. Someone had been following him. Luna hesitated. It says. She trailed off. I'll just send it to you. I'm too embarrassed to say it. All right, fine. I'll take a look. A moment after he hung up, a screenshot from Luna arrived. The headline read, Shocking. 2 top Eastwood beauties allegedly kept by the same man. The news story came with a photo. Judging by the angle, it was taken from the side of the road, showing the 3 of them almost full face. Cole was in the middle, with Serena and Luna on either side of him. It must have been taken with a phone camera. The image was zoomed in, making the pixels blurry and indistinct. But the figures of the 2 girls were still striking. So graceful and fresh, beautiful in a way that set them apart. Their long necks and jawlines looked like they'd been sculpted. You could only make out the general shape of their features, but their overall presence was more captivating than any of the so-called campus beauties whose pictures usually circulated online. Anyone who knew them would recognize them in a heartbeat. As for Cole in the middle, he stood tall, captured mid-sentence with a smile on his face. The article's content was brutally direct. Spotted this morning. 2 goddess-level campus beauties and 1 guy returning to campus. No prize for guessing where they were all night. Serious sugar baby situation. We think the one on the left is Serena Shun from the law school, but who's the one on the right? Anyone know? The comments section already had over 1,000 entries. Holy crap. I just want to know who the hell that guy is. Can we get some HD pics, please? 1 guy, 2 bombshells. My God, I wouldn't even dare to dream this. I think the one on the right is from the business school, accounting major. She's gorgeous in person. This pic is way too blurry. That was the end of the screenshot. The poster was just a string of numbers and letters. The post was from today. Clearly, whoever took it had hesitated for a few days before publishing. Cole's face was a mask of cold fury. He was livid. How dare they? He thought. How dare they capture me looking so damn handsome and suave? Is my natural charisma finally impossible to hide? The comments were far too timid. One guy and two bombshells? Please. He was aiming for a grand slam. He checked the time. Almost 9 o'clock. Too late to do much about it tonight. He had no intention of trying to fight the narrative with more noise or issuing a clarification. You couldn't clarify gossip. Besides, one day, everyone would know it wasn't a rumor anyway. Still, the term sugar baby was just so crude. It had a bad ring to it. If it weren't for that specific phrase, Cole wouldn't have even bothered. He might have even gone on and liked the post. Maybe left a shameless comment. They look great together. Well, he thought grimly. It seems Headliner has chosen the path of self-destruction. Ding, 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 ding. His Facebook Messenger chimed. It was his queen Serena. Cole, so I'm your sugar baby now? Winking face, but Luna's in it too, kissing face. Couldn't they have just taken a picture of the two of us? Their camera work is awful. I'm reporting them. Cole chuckled. That was his girl, all right. He typed back, doesn't that sugar baby line make you angry, my prize piglet? Serena, being called your sugar baby doesn't make me angry. But this website allowing these rumors to spread, their lack of oversight, that needs to be dealt with. It's better my family finds out from me sooner rather than later. Don't you worry about a thing. I'll talk to Luna and we'll get our story straight. We just ran into you at breakfast. Cole's eyebrows shot up. The way she said that, her family had some serious clout. He had never asked Serena just how powerful her grandfather's side of the family was. And he never would. The moment he asked, he would forever be open to the accusation of being a social climber. Even if he wasn't, even if Serena knew he wasn't, if they ever had a fight and her family used it to persuade her, it would be the straw that broke the camel's back. Everyone, when pushed into a corner, starts to question things. Is that what he was really after? It was just human nature. Cole knew he didn't need to climb any ladders, so why bother asking for details? It would only become ammunition for someone with an agenda down the line. He wasn't worried about anyone digging up her identity, either. 90% of the world had no idea what the children of the powerful even looked like. There wouldn't be any information online. Besides their relatives, childhood friends, and a small circle of associates, no one would know. That was Serena. To her classmates, she was just beautiful and brilliant. They had no clue about her family. Only Frank, with his obsessive research, probably had an inkling. Cole replied to Serena, all right then, I'll report it to the student activities board first thing in the morning. Serena, good. Me too. Face blowing a kiss, Cole. Face blowing a kiss. A little while later, a message came from Luna. Brother, Serena talked to me. We'll just say we ran into you at breakfast. Cole replied, okay, Lou, don't get upset about the sugar baby thing, all right? People are just being malicious. Luna responded instantly. I'm not upset, brother. They can say whatever they want. It's the person who took the picture without asking who's disgusting. Cole relaxed. As long as the two of them weren't taking it to heart, he was fine. He just wondered what Jasmine would think. Maybe she hadn't even seen it yet. In a dorm at the Eastwood Law School, Serena went downstairs and found a spot under a tree, a little ways away from the building. She dialed a number. It rang twice before connecting. Her uncle's deep, steady voice came through the phone. Serena? To what do I owe the pleasure of a call from my favorite niece today? Uncle Harrison, I need to ask you for a favor. Haha, of course. Anything for you, kiddo. What is it? Well, a friend and I were coming back from breakfast this morning and ran into a male friend. Someone took a picture of us and posted it online, saying I was being kept by him. The website, it's called Headliner, isn't just allowing it, they're actively promoting it. After she finished explaining, her uncle's response was decisive. I see. Don't you worry about it. A site like that, spreading rumors, fostering a toxic environment, that can't be tolerated. They chatted for a few more minutes before hanging up. Serena wasn't worried at all about the story escalating. The FCC and its oversight committees were well within her uncle's sphere of influence. Even if she personally didn't care about the term sugar baby, she couldn't allow that kind of information to spread. If the wrong people saw it, the impact on her family could be significant. Far away in Boston, Harrison Chin sat on his sofa, about to dial his assistant. His wife, sitting beside him, asked, what is it? Is it about Serena? Yes. Some of these small-time websites are just completely lawless, manufacturing and spreading rumors. They've managed to drag Serena into it. Harrison grunted and made the call to his assistant. Well, you need to handle that immediately, his wife said, nodding. The internet is so pervasive now. It's too easily exploited by people with ill intentions. Back at Eastwood University, in room 404 of a men's dorm in the School of Journalism and Communication, a student named Chad was staring at his Headliner user page, cackling. Publishing it like that had definitely generated buzz. His original title was simply two top-tier campus beauties walking with a guy. Seemed to be close. but the post got stuck in moderation. Then he received a private message from headliner admin. He changed the title. Now, the view count was over 300,000. Over 30,000 likes. His follower count had shot up by several thousand. People were flooding his DMs, begging him to keep tailing them, especially the two girls. Some were even offering to buy photos. Chad was ecstatic. He felt like he'd stumbled upon a gold mine. If he was just patient, he could definitely catch the two of them out and about again. As for the guy, he wasn't important. In the headliner offices in Rockford, a young man with a large gold watch stared at a computer screen, a cold smirk on his face. As the man in charge of headliner and the nephew of the investment firm's owner, Ron Carter, Kyle Carter didn't recognize the two campus beauties, but he definitely recognized the guy. It was none other than his biggest competitor, the founder of Headline Today. This was perfect. He could kill two birds with one stone. He'd ruin that Chun kid's reputation and crush Headline Today's morale. And who knows, maybe he could even poach those two girls for himself. With his resources, it would be a piece of cake. He didn't believe for a second that they were being kept. There were no hands on shoulders or waist in the photo. It was unlikely. Besides, keeping two at once? Was that even possible? As the head of a rival internet company, Kyle looked down on Cole. The guy had no background, no connections. He was just tall, kind of handsome, and young. How could he possibly compare to him? Why should a guy like that get to walk with two girls of that caliber? When Kyle tried to contact him before the new year to discuss a partnership, Cole had just hung up on him. So uncooperative. He should be eliminated from the market before he wasted any more resources. Kyle had wanted to go after Cole for a while. The problem was Headline Today was just a platform. It didn't actually create any of its own content. It just provided a channel for distribution. He couldn't even find anything remotely risque to report. But if he played this right, he could stir up the indignation of every guy on campus and send Cole's reputation plummeting. It would be easy to start poaching his staff. Ever since that useless Will had quit, Headliner had been struggling. He desperately needed to recruit some real talent. Kyle got excited just thinking about it. He lit a cigarette and blew a cloud of smoke, then called his uncle to report the good news. The next morning, 8:30 a.m., during his macroeconomics lecture, Professor Huang suddenly noticed a student in the audience with his head down, shoulders shaking. He looked like he was crying. The professor stopped. That student right there. Are you feeling all right? Dozens of heads turned. The three sages of the dorm room, Frank, Javier, and Preston, stare at Cole with utter contempt. Dude, you're the one rumored to be keeping two of the hottest girls on campus. Why the hell are you crying? Shouldn't we be the ones crying? Cole kept his head down, wiping away non-existent tears. He had a meeting with the student activities board this morning and had to be a little late, so he decided to show up for the 8 a.m. lecture to offset the guilt of being a chronic class skipper. With nothing better to do, he was getting into character for his upcoming performance. At first, he couldn't summon the emotion. His new life had been a parade of blessings. He didn't have a single sad feeling to draw upon. Finally, he forced himself to dredge up the bitter memories of his past life and managed to produce a few pathetic sobs, though still no tears. He looked up, his eyes red. I'm sorry, Professor, he said apologetically. I lost my composure. Please continue. Professor Huang recognized the face of a long-lost student and instantly lost the desire to care. Still, he offered a few words of comfort. The kid was the founder of Headline Today, after all. He had some commendable qualities. After class, Cole headed straight for the Student Activities Board office. He couldn't go to the other functionaries. He had to go straight to the top. He was taking his complaint directly to the director. Half an hour later, Director Davies sat at his desk, a look of helpless resignation on his face. The kid was putting on a show, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. You know he's acting. He knows he's acting, but you have to let him finish acting. The founder of Headline Today, the same young man who had hustled them for a sponsorship spot at the Welcome Showcase, was now sitting in his office, burying his face in his hands and sobbing. Sniff. I've dedicated myself to my business, to creating jobs for students. I've even neglected my own studies. And this is how I'm repaid? With these vicious lies. Sob. All right, that's enough, mister, Davies said, rapping his knuckles on the desk, his patience worn thin. The board will look into it. If the post is found to be malicious, we will discipline the publisher. But you need to make sure your own hands are clean. We can't have any actual sugar baby incidents. That kind of scandal would reflect very poorly on Eastwood. You have my word, Mr. Davies. My character is unimpeachable. Cole stopped his act immediately, dropping his hands. His eyes were a little red, with a few stray tears clinging to his lashes. It was a necessary evil. If you didn't come in crying, the administration wouldn't take you seriously. They wouldn't pay attention to the fact that a student entrepreneur was being slandered. Cole needed to make an example of the publisher. a warning to others. He had to stop his girls from being constantly harassed. 10:00 a.m. Rockford, the headliner office. The receptionist was idly painting her nails. A few programmers were diligently slacking off. A girl in administration was focused on a spreadsheet, projecting an image of diligence. Suddenly, the sound of heavy, rhythmic footsteps echoed through the office as a dozen officers walked in. "Everyone on your feet. Don't touch your computers," a middle-aged officer announced sternly. The other officers were already making a beeline for the programmers' workstations. "Hands where I can see them. Step away from the desks." The staff looked around in a panic, completely bewildered. They were just a dinky little website. They weren't running some kind of supplement scam. What was going on? The admin girl ran towards Kyle's office to get him. "Stop. Get back over there and stand still," an officer barked at her. She froze. The door to the inner office opened, and Kyle Carter walked out, a bewildered frown on his face. "What's going on here? Who are you people?" he demanded. He scanned the room. Some of the officers had armbands identifying them as FBI cybercrime agents. A few were from the FCC. 2 were local cops. But he wasn't scared. He had his uncle. The middle-aged officer pointed at Kyle. "You're in charge here? Cuff him." The 2 local cops pulled out handcuffs and moved in, twisting his arms behind his back. "What are you doing?" "I'm going to file a complaint." Kyle struggled violently. 2 of the feds moved in to help restrain him. "Your company is under investigation for the dissemination of obscene and pornographic materials, as well as slander and defamation, in violation of Title 18, Section 1465 of the U.S. Code. This is a setup. You have no evidence. I'm suing you," Kyle yelled, putting on a brave face. "Your website is littered with pornographic images and stories. We'll see what evidence we have when we get you downtown." The middle-aged officer glared at him. The other officers were already disconnecting the developers' computer towers. Kyle was pushed out the door. "The rest of you are to remain at your residences. Don't go anywhere. We may need your cooperation," a younger officer announced. They had arrived quickly, and they left just as fast, leaving a room full of empty computer bays. The remaining staff just stared at each other. "I knew this was going to happen," one of the operations guys spat disdainfully. "They let anything get posted on here. Time to start looking for a new job. No point thinking about it. Should we try applying to Headline today? You think they'd hire us? I doubt it." Meanwhile, at the Eastwood Tech Library. "You need to get a tighter grip on your little brother," Alex whispered, sounding like a gossipy neighbor. All those pretty girls flocking around him. "There's no need," Jasmine said, her face a mask of calm as she turned a page in her book. "There's nothing to worry about. Whatever happens, happens. Whatever happens, happens. You need to make a move. Seduce him. Double down on the seduction. If you just go for it, none of those other girls have what you have. He won't be able to resist." Alex urged her on, but Jasmine remained unmoved, quietly reading her book. Except she'd been staring at the same page for a very, very long time, and 2 faint blush roses were blooming on her pale cheeks. Headliner's collapse was sudden. When the dozen or so businesses who had bought ad packages found out, they were furious. They gathered at Zenith Capital to demand their money back, but Ron Carter was nowhere to be found. He'd gone into hiding. He couldn't understand it. He was completely baffled. Everything had been going so well. How could it all just disappear overnight? He holed up at home, but before he could even call his contact to find out what was happening, the police came for him. As the primary investor, he naturally had to be questioned. The situation, while a huge financial loss, wasn't a criminal matter for him. He threw his nephew under the bus for everything. When Ron Carter got back from the station, he immediately fell ill. His was just a small investment firm with several other partners. They mostly dabbled in local trade, buying low and selling high, offering some private loans, maybe flipping a house or 2. He'd seen the potential of a platform like Headline today and had invested a huge sum, full of confidence. Now it was all down the drain. His most pressing problem was how to explain this to his partners. Headliner was gone. The student users were stunned. Those who had dreamed of becoming internet famous on the platform were dumbfounded, especially the few who had deleted their Headline Today accounts to join the rival. In a dorm at Eastwood's business school, Cora sat in a stupor, her face so gloomy it might as well have had the word failure written on it. If she had known, she never would have deleted her Headline Today account. She'd had over 20,000 followers. Now, she had nothing, and Headliner still owed her for ad revenue. She couldn't even imagine how people were laughing at her. Cora gritted her teeth in fury. Her roommates saw her foul mood and didn't dare speak to her. In the communication school, Julia's mood wasn't much better. She had thought she could become a student star like Amy on Headliner. Now it was all for nothing. She'd become a laughingstock. She could already imagine the other students mocking her for trading a watermelon for a sesame seed. After a long silence, she opened Headline Today and registered a new account. At Eastwood Tech School of the Arts, Amy's mood was entirely different. She sat leisurely at her desk, carefully applying her eyeliner. Thank God she hadn't fallen for that headliner crap. She was now the most followed influencer, no, student star, on Headline Today. With the platform's expansion into other cities, her follower count had doubled, reaching an astonishing 900,000 plus. Soon, she'd break 1 million. Local restaurants were already reaching out, paying her to visit and post reviews. The fees were all hers. She'd even hired an assistant. Life couldn't be better. She'd seen the sugar baby post the moment it came out. So what if it was true? It was perfectly normal. If Cole wanted to be her sugar daddy, she'd go running. Too bad she didn't have a chance. She'd seen those two girls. They were naturally, pristinely beautiful. She couldn't compete. And then there was that gorgeous, mature executive director. Amy had temporarily shelved her ambitions. First, make money. The rest could wait. Back in the journalism school, a student named Chad was taken away by the police for questioning. When word reached Cole, he couldn't help but let out a low whistle. Damn, he'd been thinking about how to take Headliner down, or at least wait for it to collapse. He never imagined it would be gone in an instant. This was the difference between power and status. He had been slowly gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment to strike a fatal blow. But for someone on another level, it was just a matter of saying the word. Ding, 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 ding. His messenger chimed. It was Serena. Aren't I amazing? Face blowing a kiss. Cole smiled and replied, Amazing, my prize piglet. Serena. Then I want a reward. Cole. Name it. It's yours. Serena. When I don't have class tonight, you have to be my masseuse. It's been so long since you rubbed my feet, kissing face. Look, I think they're swollen. Serena. My foot. JPG. Cole opened the picture. The shot went all the way up to her mid-thigh. A long, slender, perfectly proportioned leg. At the end, her pale foot, toes splayed wantonly. Even though he'd seen it many times, his heart still skipped a beat. Beautiful. Love to see it. Please send more. He replied with mock seriousness. You're right, they're definitely swollen. You must notify me the moment you're free tonight. This requires immediate medical attention. Serena. Okay. Smiling face with hearts. A little later, a message came from Luna. Brother, that website got shut down. Brianna said the person who posted it was arrested. Cole. Yep, I just heard. He thought to himself, dude, your mistake was using the wrong words. Otherwise, I would have had the girls give you a like. Luna, that's good. Now Headline Today has no more enemies. Cole, that's right. Time for us to really start making money. My little Lou has to manage the finance as well. Okay. Luna. Okay. Cole decided not to tell the sweet girl that the real enemies hadn't even appeared yet. He didn't want her to worry. Just then, the 3 sages of the dorm walked in. It seemed they were done with classes for the day. Cole, you're seriously something else. You really took them down just like that, Preston said, impressed as he walked in. Don't talk nonsense. I didn't do anything, Cole said, holding up a hand to stop him. Headliner was posting shady content. It was only a matter of time before some righteous person exposed them. He couldn't take credit for this. He had to keep a low profile for Serena's sake. Frank plopped down in his chair, leaning back. Cole, that news story gave me an idea. I'm writing your sassy ass into my novel. Fine by me, Cole said nonchalantly. Just don't forget my royalty check. And make sure my character is more handsome than Ryan Gosling, with an 8-pack mandatory. How about we waive the royalty fee? Frank said, picking his nose, and I'll give you an exclusive female side character instead. Looks and abs are no problem. All right, deal. Give me 6 of them, and I get Sundays off. Damn. Done. Cole opened his phone to check a new message. It was from Jasmine. Shung, Headliner collapsed. Things should be easier for Headline Today now. Cole. Yes, sis. Jasmine. Shung, I'm sending you a picture. You're not allowed to laugh at me. Cole's eyebrows shot up, and he blinked. Jasmine never sent photos. What was this? His curiosity spiked to a fever pitch. Sis, don't worry. You know me. It took a full 5 or 6 minutes for Jasmine to reply. It was indeed a photo. Cole's heart hammered against his ribs. He couldn't look at it here, not with the 3 sages around to steal a glance. He bolted for the bathroom, slammed the door, and locked it. Only then did he tap on the image he'd already glimpsed in the preview. He zoomed in. It was taken on her dorm bed. The privacy curtain was drawn. She was sitting, one long, beautiful leg bent. But the crucial part was that this leg was clad in a pair of black, slightly sheer, lace thigh-high stockings. The lace edge of the stocking created a stark, mesmerizing border, dividing her leg into 2 realms, black and white. The black was alluring. The white was dazzling. Two thin black straps extended from the top of the stocking, disappearing out of the frame. Cole's eyes were glued to the screen, wide and unblinking, feeling no strain at all. His mind was completely filled with the image of that lace and garter-clad leg. The blood in his veins felt like it was about to boil. "Sis, why are you tempting me like this?" Cole felt himself succumbing. He was having a reaction. A powerful, shameless reaction. So powerful he couldn't possibly leave the bathroom now. His heart rate kicked up another notch. "Jasmine, is this the kind of lace you wanted to see?" Cole, his mind completely captivated, found his fingers trembling as he typed. "Yes, yes, yes. This is it. Jasmine, oh. I bought 2 pairs. 2 pairs?" Cole's eyes lit up. He eagerly typed. "What does the other pair look like, sis?" "Jasmine, it's like a fine fishnet. They were on sale, so I grabbed them too." Her tone was flat, almost detached. But to Cole, her words were like a thunderclap in his mind. Jasmine and garter-strap fishnets. For Cole, stockings were nothing special on their own. It all depended on whose legs they were on. Jasmine was normally so ladylike, so reserved, so traditional. And it was precisely because of this that seeing her show off her legs in the privacy of her own space had an impact that was magnified 1,000 times over. The psychological temptation of that contrast had him clawing at his own skin. He had an immediate and fierce reaction, so fierce he couldn't possibly face anyone. His heart rate climbed even higher. "Sis, I want to see. Didn't I just show you? I want to see the fishnet ones too." "No." Cole grew frantic. "Why not?" "Jasmine, I'm not wearing them. They're too much." Cole smiled to himself. She'd already bought them. If he wheedled her a bit, she'd definitely put them on. "Sis, come over to our place tonight. I want to talk to you about the company's organizational structure." "Jasmine, no." Cole didn't give up. "It's about work, sis." "Jasmine, we can talk about it here, or at the office. Your performance has been subpar lately. I don't feel like dealing with you." Cole smacked his lips. His proud, sharp-tongued Jasmine was jealous. Now was not the time to explain. He played dumb. "What do you mean subpar? I've been working really hard, sis." 5 minutes later, Cole's legs were cramping from squatting. Jasmine finally replied, "Anyway, I'm not coming over. Not until I think your performance has improved." If this were his past life, Cole might have interpreted that as a demand for some kind of material gift. But now, that thought didn't even cross his mind. This was the proud, independently wealthy Jasmine. His Jasmine. Defying her was not an option. He dutifully played the part of the pitiful younger brother. "All right, sis. Even though I've been working so hard lately, I guess I'll just have to try even harder." "Jasmine, if you try to play cute with me again, I'll kill you." You fell asleep and were drooling all over the table in the small conference room. "You think I don't know?" "Huh? Who's the leak?" Cole's face darkened. The problem was, he really had been drooling. It was uncomfortable to sleep with his head down. Before he could ask, Jasmine added, "I stopped by. I saw you. I just didn't wake you." "Fine." Cole was helpless. He'd just have to wait for her jealousy to fade. They chatted for a little while longer. Cole kept subtly trying to coax more pictures out of her, but Jasmine ignored him. Dragging his numb legs, Cole returned to his desk. He decided to turn his attention to Serena and Luna. He had bought several pairs of different stockings and hidden them away, completely forgetting about them. Fishnets wouldn't suit Serena, but she could probably pull off any other style. Cat ears, a little tail, bunny ears, and Luna, she could wear anything. A little maid outfit, a little chef, a little secretary. "Cole!" Preston's loud shout startled him. "What? What do you mean, what?" "Your nose is bleeding, don't you feel it?" Preston yelled, pointing down at him from his top bunk. Cole came to his senses, finally feeling something strange under his nose. He touched it. It was true. A nosebleed. He quickly grabbed some tissues from his desk and plugged his nose. He sighed internally. He had too much vitality. The moment he thought about anything stimulating, it all rushed upwards. His capillaries were too fragile. He really needed to start working out, give all that pent-up energy an outlet. Those nights, he was in agony, the blood practically boiling in his veins all night long. But it wasn't without its benefits. Some things were really a matter of willpower, not hardware. Human willpower was a funny thing. As long as the thought of relaxing never entered your mind, your body would execute your will and resolutely refuse to relax. Cole had gotten used to never relaxing. It had raised the upper limit of his future combat effectiveness. "Cole, what were you looking at in the bathroom?" Javier asked, a strange look on his face. "I was just using the toilet. Where your mind's at? Am I that kind of person?" Cole mumbled through the tissues. The three sages exchanged a look. "Oh, you absolutely are. Who else could it be?" 100%, you were looking at something from one of the girls. Sigh. They couldn't be jealous. This guy, Cole, he never did anything romantic. He couldn't play an instrument, couldn't sing. They'd never heard him. And he didn't play basketball. At least they'd never seen him. They'd never seen him buy flowers. And while he had his own business and some money, he never flaunted it. Yet he was treated so specially by three incredibly beautiful girls. Over time, the three sages had figured it out. Cole was juggling all three, but they would never say anything. First, they were decent roommates. Second, they still relied on him for things. All they could do was be jealous. In a girls' dorm at Eastwood Tech, Jasmine had already changed back in her jeans. She lay on her side, legs curled up, her face slightly flushed. She bit down on her quilt, didn't like the taste, and spat it out. Those garter stockings were even more mortifying than the plain black ones from before. They completely subverted her sense of propriety. They made her feel particularly insecure, like she was doing something wrong. It would probably be better if she were in that room with her little brother. And those fishnet ones. How could she possibly wear those? It was too shameful. Jasmine's eyes gleamed. An image of her brother's lecherous, greedy face floated in her mind. So creepy, so lewd. A smug smile touched her lips. I'm just not going to show you. It's your own fault for your poor performance. Suffer. She was certain that at this very moment, her brother was clawing at his own skin. And that was exactly the effect she wanted. Torment him. Keep him hanging on a string. It would help him resist temptations from other directions. But she could absolutely not feed him. If she wore those 2 pairs of stockings and lay in the same bed with him, she would 100% be conquered. She wouldn't be able to stop him. Jasmine understood that. She hadn't been able to stop him before. It was only because he was being considerate, because he cared for her. But the more he was like that, the more she fell in love with him. The restrained friction and intimacy also pulled her deeper and deeper under his spell. It wasn't that Jasmine absolutely had to wait until he was 20, but a friend from medical school had said something that struck a chord with her. A little patience now for a lifetime of happiness later. Never let your man retire early. Besides, she thought a little self-control was a good thing. A kind of test. If it was just about pleasure, it would only be temporary. But if her brother could be patient with her even in this, then she was certain she would be loved for a lifetime. She adored it when he listened to her. And if he did hold out, she would let him unleash everything, no matter how shameless. At that thought, a flicker of longing appeared deep in Jasmine's eyes. Even the tips of her ears turned a deep shade of red. The next day was sunny and clear, just like the mood of everyone at Headline today. In the morning, just after Cole had finished a brief meeting, someone came to the Venture Lab looking for him. It was Mr. Summers, the owner of the Hot Pot restaurant. They sat down in the small conference room. An upperclassman from the customer service team brought them 2 cups of tea. Mr. Chun, your company is truly in a league of its own on campus now, Mr. Summers said with a fawning smile, his former arrogance gone. The young man in front of him was only 2 years older than his own son, but he felt like he was facing a seasoned businessman. He had paid 20,000 yuan, almost $3,000, for advertising on Headliner. All it got him were pop-up ads. The click-through rate was pitiful, likely from users accidentally tapping on them. The conversion rate was therefore abysmal. Who willingly clicks on pop-ups? The key problem was that his fee wasn't based on clicks, but on impressions. As long as the ad was displayed, it counted $3,000 down the drain. Headliner then tried to swindle him further, claiming his ads weren't sinking in enough. He needed to invest more to make the ads penetrate the public consciousness. They offered him a 50% discount, pay for another $3,000, and they'd give him $6,000 worth of exposure. So he gave them another $3,000, and then Headliner was gone. Meanwhile, his rival Ms. Potter had doubled down on her investment with Headline Today and opened another location. Headline Today had built a whole hot pot culture for her, complete with influencer visits and continuous promotion. Her business was booming. He was so jealous he couldn't sleep at night. He'd even lost the mood to go get his usual foot massage. He'd spent all last night scrolling through Headline Today, thinking, he had to admit it, he'd been blind. He'd been tempted by Headliner's cheap ad rates. After his initial marketing push with Headline Today had boosted his business, he thought it was no big deal. He figured any website could produce the same effect for less money. But Headline Today was different. It kept showing you things you wanted to see, and it turned advertisements into interesting articles or short videos. Users were almost happy to engage with them. Having learned his lesson the hard way, he swallowed his pride and came to visit again today. Not at all, not at all. Headline Today would never dare to claim we're in a league of our own. We just do our best to serve all our valued clients, Cole said, waving his hand with a faint smile. Internally, he was thinking, if you want to come back, just say it. Spit it out. How much are you willing to pay? Mr. Chun, to be honest with you, I lost big time with Headliner. Threw away thousands. Ah, the regret. Mr. Summers lamented, scratching at his thinning hair. For every loss, there's a gain. Mr. Summers must have had some kind of epiphany. You've reached a new level of enlightenment. I'm truly happy for you, Cole said, his smile unwavering, though his internal patience was wearing thin. Still not getting to the point? Are you waiting for an invitation? Not a chance. If you rejoin now, it won't be at the old price. Mr. Summers nearly choked on his own saliva. What the hell kind of epiphany could he have had? The epiphany that he'd lost a ton of money. This Mr. Chun was really something else. So young, but not to be underestimated. He was a sharp one. You're too kind, Mr. Chun. I came today because I'd like to partner with Headline today again. Of course, we welcome any partnership. It's just that. Cole trailed off, feigning hesitation. Just what? Please, Mr. Chun, speak freely, Mr. Summers said, his heart tightening. It's just that Ms. Potter has already purchased the hot pot keywords. She will always be ranked first. Even if you invest now, you'll be ranked below her. Keywords? Mr. Summers didn't quite understand. Correct. Searches involving the words Memphis style, hot pot, spicy, authentic, and peppercorn will all show her listing first, Cole explained with a smile. She's also #1 on the spicy hot pot leaderboard. Mr. Summers fell silent, chewing on the dry skin of his lip. After a moment, he said, Mr. Chun, just tell me what I need to do. I'll follow your lead. Mr. Summers, if you want to get on the leaderboard, you'll have to pay more to share those keywords, Cole said seriously. But at most, you'll be ranked second. After all, Ms. Potter was our partner first. I have to be fair. Mr. Summers hesitated for a moment, but then quickly gritted his teeth and nodded. Fine. Ms. Potter was here first. That's only right. Mr. Chun, let's sign the contract. Ms. Potter hadn't given up. She'd doubled down. There was no comparison. But if he could get the #2 spot, that wasn't bad. At least when other Memphis-style hot pot places popped up, he could grab a larger share of the customers. The market was huge, and times were changing. When people saw how much money hot pot restaurants were making, others were bound to join in. After the contract was signed, Mr. Summers, proving to be more indecisive than Ms. Potter, only deposited $7,500. After seeing Mr. Summers off, Cole handed the project to Whitney in the planning department to design an ad campaign distinct from Ms. Potter's. Throughout the morning, another 5 or 6 business owners like Mr. Summers came to visit. Restaurants, clothing stores, shoe shops, all the types of businesses college students frequented most. In the afternoon, a major client arrived. Luxlight Eye Care Lamps, a real brand, the regional distributor for Rockford. He was a man in his 30s, dressed in a sharp suit, with slicked back hair that shone under the light. His looks weren't important. His eyes were sharp and shrewd. Mr. Chun, my requirement is that the promotion does not extend beyond Rockford. I only want to cover the universities in this city. Can you do that? Trevor Zhang struggled to get the words Mr. Chun out. The person in front of him was just too young. He himself had worked tirelessly, kissing up to everyone until his lips were chapped, just to become a distributor. This kid was a freshman and already a Mr. Life was truly unfair. Of course, precision promotion is what Headline today is all about. We hit where you aim, Cole said with a smile. Good. One more thing. I want to use my own model. The advertising fee should be reduced to account for that expense. Trevor Zhang added another condition. He had heard that Headline today used their own people. But this was different. He had a girl in mind. He might as well save the money. Mr. Zhang, I'm afraid that won't be possible, Cole said, not backing down, shaking his head. Headline today's ad designs require precise cooperation from our models. They need to understand the concept to achieve the best effect. From now on, any ad designed by Headline today would use Headline today's people, unless the client hired their own ad agency and just submitted the finished product. Just like in the future, when companies would make their own TikToks, and TikTok would only earn the promotion fee. For now, Headline today was a one-stop shop. Once it grew, the advertising department would be spun off into its own agency. Before Trevor Zhang could protest, Cole continued, Mr. Zhang, you've probably seen Headline today's ads. The depth of the copy needs to be expressed through the depth of the talent. You're here to promote a product, not a person, correct? It was obvious this Mr. Zhang wanted to use his own mistress, or use this as an opportunity to land one. Trevor Zhang didn't expect the young Mr. Chun to be so firm or so eloquent. But he had hit on the crucial point. He wasn't incapable of distinguishing what was more important. Still, he wasn't quite willing to give in. Mr. Chun, can I see one of your models? Of course, but I'll have to check if she's available, Cole said, then had Whitney contact Amy. This kind of ad was perfect for her. Whitney replied that Amy was on her way. 20 minutes later, Trevor Zhang met Amy. She was indeed better than his girl. 100 times better. They weren't even in the same league. This girl was like a star. Fine, Mr. Chun. We'll use your people. After signing the contract, Trevor Zhang immediately deposited $15,000 for the ad campaign. Cole was very pleased. The next morning, the planning department and Amy went to a home goods superstore to shoot photos and a short video for the Lux Light display. Afterward, they still needed to shoot in Amy's dorm room. But before noon, Cole saw Amy, Whitney, and the others return to the office, all of them looking grim. What's wrong? Cole asked, confused. That bastard. He tried to get handsy with Amy, tried to pull the casting couch crap on her. We're here to sell his damn products, and he wanted a piece of ass on the side. Whitney plopped into a chair, cursing. The office fell silent. Something like that had happened. That Mr. Zhang had seemed so proper. You really couldn't judge a book by its cover. Mr. Chin, I'm sorry. This time it was my fault. I couldn't hold back, and I slapped him, Amy said, her face full of shame. She knew this deal was probably dead now, all because of her. She probably should have tried to handle it more diplomatically, but she just couldn't stand it. She had no idea what Cole would think. After all, it was a $15,000 contract. Everyone in the office looked on with hopeful anticipation, waiting to see how Cole would handle it. Just as Cole was about to speak, his phone rang. It was Trevor Zhang from Lux Light. He held up a hand for silence, answered the call, and put on speaker. Mr. Chun. Trevor Zhang's voice was laced with displeasure. I trusted headline today. But are your people completely disrespectful? I'm your client, aren't I? I gave you 15 grand just like that. And how do they treat me? One of them hit me. You tell me, what are you going to do about it? Mr. Zhang, what I'm hearing from them is that you were the one who was disrespectful to our model first, Cole replied, his tone shifting from formal to casual. That's ridiculous. How was I disrespectful? I just pulled her over a little so she wouldn't knock over a lamp, Trevor Zhang said angrily. That's not true, Mr. Chun. Amy interjected quickly. He kept finding excuses to put his arm around me. I moved away, and then he tried to get me to go into a back room with him to talk. He said he could have me replaced, that I needed to be smart about it, and then he started getting handsy again. That's when I slapped him. Cole nodded, his face cold. Mr. Zhang, you heard her. Amy doesn't lie. Your behavior was highly inappropriate. The question isn't what I'm going to do, it's what are you going to do? What the hell can I do? She's just some college girl. So what if I was open about it? That's normal. Why is she pretending to be so innocent? She just wants more money. Not a chance. I'm not desperate. And this is a personal matter. Nobody's business. Mr. Chun, I don't want this kind of partnership. Give me a refund. Trevor Zhang clearly wasn't trying to hide it anymore. He was tearing up the pretense. A refund? Huh. Mr. Zhang, are you familiar with contract law? Cole let out a cold laugh. All traces of the boyish student gone. Are you familiar with sexual assault statutes? I'm guessing you're not. You should apologize to my company's model, Ms. Amy, as soon as possible. If you back out of this ad campaign, you're in breach of contract. The terms are crystal clear. If the client defaults due to personal reasons, not a single penny will be refunded. Go read it yourself. This was a clause he had personally crafted. For contracts worth tens of thousands, you had to be ruthless. If you wanted to play hardball, so could Cole. You think you could just take my money if I don't do the ad? I'll sue you, and you'll be finished, you know that? A kid like you, trying to play these games with me. Trevor Zhang's voice turned sinister, as if he was supremely confident. Mr. Zhang, feel free to sue. I'll be filing a police report first. I'll see you in court. But let me give you a piece of advice. There's no such thing as a do-over in this world. The other end went silent, and the line disconnected. Mr. Chun, Amy looked guilty, not expecting Cole to escalate things so directly. She felt bad about it, but also incredibly warm inside. You did the right thing. He deserved it. Don't be afraid of him. Cole gave her an encouraging look. Some small-time regional distributor for a damn lamp company thought he could act like a king. No wonder he'd agreed to the terms so quickly. He was hiding his filthy intentions all along. Mr. Chun, thank you, Amy said, her eyes welling up with gratitude and turning red. The others in the office looked at Cole with complex expressions. They had never seen him so tough before. He didn't hesitate to fight back. Even though they might lose a big contract, they all felt a renewed sense of confidence. You work for Headline today, So it's headline today's responsibility to protect you, Cole said with a smile. First, you file a police report. If you need to cooperate with them later, the planning department were witnesses. They'll go with you. You got it. Whitney raised her hand decisively. The other three upperclassmen also voiced their support. Mr. Chun, Amy wiped her tears, almost unable to speak. Don't cry. This will be resolved quickly. He won't get away with it, Cole reassured her. What happens when a distributor's sales plummet? They get replaced. Their license gets revoked. There was more than one eye care lamp brand on the market. He wanted to go to war with new media? Cole immediately gave the order to strike first. The editorial and planning departments would draft a story. They would push the incident out to every single college student. They would incite public outrage and a boycott of Luxlight. When a relationship soured like this, you didn't wait for the other side to compromise. You went for the throat. As for the lawsuit, let him sue. They could drag it out. Amy filed the police report, and at Cole's suggestion, she went back to Eastwood Tech and reported the incident to the student government and the Student Activities Board. That would get the police to take it more seriously. That afternoon, the official Headline Today account and Amy's personal account published the story, and it spread like wildfire. Cole felt no psychological pressure about it. It was a non-issue. At 6 o'clock, he left work, humming a tune, waiting for the situation to ferment. He sent a message to Jasmine, pestering her to see the stockings. But he was ruthlessly shot down. He didn't message Serena. He knew she had an important class tonight. So he sent a message to Luna. Lou, let's go out for dinner tonight. Just 5 minutes later, Luna replied. Okay, I'm in my dorm, brother. Cole didn't go back to his own dorm. He went straight to the accounting department's girls' dorm. By the time he arrived, the sky was growing dark. Luna was already waiting downstairs, her expression soft and serene, standing gracefully. She was wearing that pink coat again, over a thin, cream-colored sweater dress. Light gray leggings highlighted the gentle curve of her calves, and she wore a pair of white sneakers. The coat was still buttoned up, and she held it closed with her left hand. When she saw Cole, her eyes lit up, and she trotted over to him. Cole smiled and opened his arms, welcoming her into his embrace. The usual pose, so soft, so comfortable. Many students passed by, occasionally casting a curious glance, but Luna kept her face turned towards Cole as they talked, her long hair obscuring half her face. You wouldn't know who she was unless you got close. Only her height was a little conspicuous. They had dinner out, then returned to their not-so-secret base. Luna's face was already flushed. She knew they would end up here. She had a spare pair of panties ready in her coat pocket for the morning. Lou, after you shower, will you try on the new clothes I got for you? Please. Cole began his devious plot. Okay, Luna said, thinking they were just normal clothes. I'll leave them on the bed. When you're changed, call me in. Okay. After her shower, Luna returned to the bedroom, where the AC was already running. On the bed lay a bundle of black cloth. When she unfolded it, she saw it was a short, black slip dress, and a pair of bunny ear hair clips. The dress was incredibly thin and sheer in some places. And this white thing was stockings. Luna's face flushed crimson in an instant. Her heart began to pound. To wear this out, she glanced back at the closed bedroom door, then bit her lower lip and began to change. When she tried to pull the dress on, it got stuck. Her chest was in the way. She had no choice but to take off her bra. This time it slid down. She looked down at herself. Her face was as red as a beet. The dress only came down to the top of her thighs. When she noticed the cut of the chest, she quickly covered her face with her hands. This was too shameful, too much. Her heart was racing like a frightened deer. After a long moment, she took a few deep breaths and continued to put on the long, white thigh-high stockings. Little bows were tied at the top of the stockings. After she was dressed, she looked down at herself. She sat on the bed, covering her burning face with her hands. Even her neck was flushed red. This was so mortifying. What was she going to do? She didn't dare call Cole in. After a full 5 minutes, she finally managed to suppress her frantic heartbeat and called out in a trembling voice, "Brother, you can come in." Cole, watching TV in the living room, had long been itching with anticipation. He was staring at the screen, but the images weren't registering at all. His mind was entirely in the bedroom. The moment he heard Luna's call, he couldn't hold back any longer. He rushed to the door, but paused to compose himself, putting on the solemn expression of a great artist about to appreciate a masterpiece. He gently pushed the door open. Luna was sitting on the bed, wrapped tightly in the comforter. Cole glanced at the clothes on the nightstand and knew she must have changed. Though his heart was pounding out a lewd rhythm, he maintained his composure and closed the door first. "Brother, you didn't turn off the TV and lights in the living room." His frugal little finance manager was very concerned about cost control. "All right, I'll get them." Cole quickly opened the door again, took a giant stride out, turned everything off, and returned to the room, once again the picture of calm. "Brother, the light in here. Can you turn it off?" Luna's voice trembled. She had seen the ravenous look in Cole's eyes. Thinking about her shameful outfit under the blanket, she was terrified. "Brother, Luna is so scared." "Be good, Lou. I really can't turn this one off," Cole said gently, walking to the edge of the bed and sitting down. The corners of his mouth, which he couldn't stop from turning up, betrayed the fact that the big bad wolf's tail was showing. "Little Lou, you can lower the blanket. The heat is on full blast. You won't be cold." Luna pulled the blanket up a little higher, covering her beet-red face. Only her big, dark eyes peeked out, looking at Cole. In a tiny, trembling voice, she said, "Brother, I'm a little scared." "Don't be scared. Brother is just testing his own self-control." "Don't worry," Cole said with a warm, harmless smile. With Luna's personality, her shyness was inevitable. He had to take it slow. The fact that she had changed at all was a huge breakthrough for her. Luna blinked a few times. Slowly, so slowly, she lowered the blanket, revealing a face as red as an apple. The blanket continued its descent. Her whole body was trembling slightly. By the time the blanket reached her waist, Cole's eyes were practically bulging out of his head. When the ultimate ideal was veiled in a way that was both revealing and concealing, the destructive power for him was equivalent to a nuclear explosion in his brain. This wasn't just any girl. This was his Luna, his sweet, considerate, and easily embarrassed Luna. "Oh no, brother, your nose is bleeding again." Seeing Cole's old ailment resurface, Luna forgot her own shyness. She threw off the blanket and scrambled across the bed on her hands and knees to grab tissues from the nightstand. That explosive, beautiful sight instantly detonated Cole's senses. Oh my God! A hot current surged to his head. His nose was bleeding profusely. He could only cup his hand under it to keep it from dripping on the bed. Cole was impressed with himself. He had never had a nosebleed in his past life, yet it had happened several times in this one. Was the shock too great, or were his blood vessels just too fragile? Even the jaded, cynical version of himself from his past life had seen a lot, but he still couldn't handle this. The level of temptation was on a completely different plane. Luna frantically pulled out tissues, plugged Cole's nose, and wiped the blood from his mouth. Luna, I'm going to wash my hands," Cole said, rushing to the bathroom. Seeing Cole's flustered state, Luna knelt on the bed, pursing her lips. She couldn't help but cover her mouth and giggle. Suddenly, she didn't feel so scared anymore. A sense of satisfaction, mixed with shyness, bloomed in her heart. She felt a sense of accomplishment for being able to captivate him. She just hoped she could always captivate him, keep him filled with desire for her for a lifetime, so he wouldn't look at other girls. Luna wasn't stupid. She understood that, for now, the biggest threat wasn't the other two. It was all the other women out there. The other two, at least, wouldn't harm Cole, but those girls who would throw themselves at him without him even needing to cast a line. Their intentions were obvious. They would surely drag him into the mud. She had heard plenty of gossip from Brianna and Felicity. All sorts of bizarre stories that were almost unbelievable. Even at top-tier universities, there were plenty of girls who didn't want to work for their success. Felicity had even warned her, if Headline Today gets bigger and bigger, more women will flock to him. Countless women. There were hundreds of thousands of female university students in Rockford alone, and plenty of them were beautiful and had great figures. They might not be attracted to Cole as a person, but to what he represented. Felicity had advised her to guard him closely, to do her best to enchant him. But she also shouldn't give herself up too easily, lest she be taken for granted. That advice had struck a chord with Luna. Her greatest fear was that Cole was only interested in her body. It's not like she was the only well-endowed girl in the world. There were plenty of them. Sooner or later, he would get tired of the old and want something new. Before she had changed, she had hesitated. She was afraid Cole would be like a ravenous wolf and devour her completely. But she had changed anyway, because he was her brother. If her brother wanted to see, she was willing to show him. She deeply hoped that Cole was mesmerized by both her body and her soul, and that they could be together happily for the rest of their lives. If so, this life would have been worth living. All the suffering she had endured would have been worth it. Those countless nights she spent crying while studying. Those countless times she was leered at, having to sneak around just to take a shower, carrying a knife with her. Those times people pointed at her behind her back, calling her a slut who was pretending to be a prude. Those days when all she ate was a single baked potato. Every time she thought about it, she couldn't help but cry. She had her pride. She needed Cole to truly love her. To love all of her, not just her body. Cole, who had come rushing out of the bathroom feeling pleased with himself, immediately noticed that something was off with Luna's mood. The lust in his heart instantly dissipated. "What's wrong, Lou?" he asked, sitting on the edge of the bed and taking her small hand. Even though the white-stockinged bunny girl before him was endlessly tempting, he held back. Meeting Cole's gentle gaze, Luna, still kneeling on the bed, could no longer hold back. She threw herself into his arms, clinging to his neck as tears fell like broken strings of pearls. "Stop, brother. If I dress like this, will you look down on me in the future?" Cole froze, then understood. He had triggered her deepest insecurities. He held the girl in his arms, the thin fabric making the smooth texture of her skin even more vivid to his touch. He whispered in her ear, "How could I? This is our private secret. In the days to come, I want to see you wear all sorts of things." "Okay, Lou." He kissed her ear. His chest was already soaked with her tears. He heard Luna's crying subside as she whispered, "Okay, if you want to see, I'll wear it for you." Then she lifted her tear-streaked face and looked at him softly. "But you can never look down on me because of this. These clothes are too much." "Of course I won't. Wearing this for me is a sign of your affection. I couldn't be happier. You can feel how much I like it, can't you?" Cole soothed her, continuing to nibble gently on her ear. "Yes, you like it, and I like that you like it," Luna whispered, shrinking her neck slightly, her tear-filled eyes beginning to glaze over. Cole kissed her cheeks, tasting her tears. "Lou, I'm turning off the AC. Let's just talk for a while." "Okay." Luna pulled away from his embrace and quickly dove under the covers, her face flushing with embarrassment. Cole turned off the air conditioner. Otherwise, it would be too hot under the blanket. He left the lights on. They snuggled together, talking. "Brother. Brother." Luna tangled her fingers in Cole's hair. You're right, Lou." That night, Cole tempered his willpower once again. The morning light illuminated the room. Luna was already dressed in her own clothes, sitting on the edge of the bed with a rosy blush on her cheeks. She had an 8 a.m. class. Cole, in full simp mode, diligently put on Luna's little white sneakers for her. Then he stood up, spread his arms, and scooped her up by her bottom. Luna wrapped her arms around Cole's neck, her eyes full of tender affection. She remembered something she had once read. Did your parents' love accompany you as you grew up? If not, then be your own parent. So, she had always been her own parent, often talking to herself, reminding herself to be safe. Now, she didn't need to anymore. She had Cole. Cole was a lek, but he was always considerate of her feelings. Lust and love weren't mutually exclusive. She still didn't have parents, but she now had the feeling of home. Luna's heart swelled with emotion. She leaned in, boldly and proactively offering him her sweet, fruity kiss. After a long, sweet embrace, she hung comfortably on him as they went to wash up. In the early morning, the street-side breakfast spots were bustling. Just as they arrived, a square plastic stool opened up outside a noodle shop. Luna claimed it, and Cole went to buy 2 bowls of noodles. He placed them on the stool, and they sat huddled around it on the curb to eat. Luna's delicate face always attracted attention, making her feel a little uncomfortable. She let her hair fall forward, obscuring her cheeks, and held the ends down as she ate carefully. After dropping Luna off near her classroom, a revitalized Cole arrived at the Headline Today office. He checked on the buzz around Trevor Zhang and Luxlight. In a word, massive. A wave of boycotts was sweeping across the platform. The male students could tolerate their upper and underclassmen being snatched up by other guys. That was just a matter of being too slow. But they would absolutely not tolerate them being sexually harassed by outsiders. The female students were united in their outrage. Coupled with Amy's fame, Luxlight's reputation was in tatters. "I have a Luxlight. I just smashed it. Buying a new one. Smash mine too. Feels disgusting to use it now. It's not like they're the only brand. Was planning on buying one. I'll switch to another brand now. Sisters, we need to stand together. We must boycott this kind of disrespect towards women." The top influencer posts on the topic had hundreds of thousands of likes and tens of thousands of comments and shares. The Student Government and Publicity Department of Eastwood Tech School of the Arts issued a statement. "We express our outrage at the harassment experienced by our student, Amy. We strongly condemn the deplorable actions of this lamp distributor. We are resolute in our commitment to protecting female university students from harm and will cooperate with the police to seek justice for our student." The official statement brought the public condemnation to a crescendo. A major university wouldn't take this from some small-time distributor. Sexually harassing a student, and a student star from the art school at that? Did the university's reputation mean nothing? Did this one distributor think he could stomp all over the faces of the dean, the president, and the board of trustees? Cole skimmed the online information. He already knew how this would end. Trevor Zhang was definitely going to lose his distributorship. The power of algorithmic recommendations was terrifying. Anyone who logged into Headline today would see the story. For Luxlight to save its market in Rockford, revoking Zhang's license was a certainty. Luxlight's headquarters was in New York. Normally, news from a regional university platform wouldn't reach the main office. But by a stroke of luck, a recent graduate from Eastwood Tech's optoelectronics program was working in Luxlight's R&D department. Just as the chairman finished reading about the incident, the call from Eastwood Tech came through. And the 40-year-old rotating chairman, Eugene Zhang, was himself a graduate of Eastwood Tech School of Optoelectronics. He was furious. He couldn't afford to lose face with his alma mater. He immediately promised to handle the matter. Since the distributor was technically a partner, they couldn't fire him directly. But they could revoke his license. The chairman had the marketing department issue a statement. Due to the personal misconduct of the Rockford distributor, who sexually harassed a female university student, causing immense damage to the Luxlight brand's reputation, we are unilaterally revoking his distribution license. In accordance with the risk clause in the distribution agreement, half of his security deposit will be returned. We will also be suing the former Rockford distributor, Trevor Zhang, for damages to Luxlight's reputation and all losses incurred during this incident. In Rockford, Trevor Zhang was in his small office, angrily dictating his demands to his lawyer. He'd seen the news on Headline today, but he thought it was a non-issue. Let them boycott. In a little while, they'd be back to buying his products. Just as he was feeling secure, his phone rang. It was a VP from Luxlight he'd once had drinks with. The man chewed him out and hung up before he could say a word. Trevor Zhang sat there in a daze, unable to process the verbal lashing. If he lost his license, the headquarters wouldn't supply him with products. The rent on his showroom alone would bankrupt him. His distributorship was a direct contract with headquarters, not under the state-level agent. He had only gotten it by schmoozing that VP. After a long moment, he let out a guttural scream, shot up from his chair, and grabbed his bag. He had to get to New York. He sprinted out, leaving his lawyer and assistant standing there, stunned. They thought they had a big case. It seemed it had just evaporated. The next day, Mr. Zhao, the lawyer, returned from his trip to Delaware. At noon, Cole, along with his legal director Serena, took Mr. Zhao to a steakhouse at the gallery for lunch. With Serena present, Mr. Zhao was impeccably polite. After they sat down, he took the registered offshore company license out of his briefcase, along with the offshore bank account details. Everything was in Cole's name. He was the sole individual shareholder. Cole let out a huge sigh of relief. With this, his future financial operations would be much more convenient. The company's address is registered to a law firm's office, which won't affect your operations, Mr. Zhao said, taking a sip of tea. If you decide to set up a physical office there later, you can just rent a space and update the address. Excellent. Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Zhao. Cole had already prepared a thick envelope of cash as a bonus for him. He knew he couldn't have done it this smoothly on his own. No matter where you were, connections were a valuable asset. Serena took the thick envelope from her bag and handed it over with a smile. She enjoyed this feeling of being Cole's assistant. Oh, no, I couldn't. Mr. Zhao quickly stood up, waving his hands in refusal. He wanted to take it, but he didn't dare. Take it. It's a bonus for your hard work. You've earned it, Serena said calmly. Well, all right then. Thank you, Ms. Shun. Thank you, Mr. Chun. Mr. Zhao accepted it with both hands. Feeling its thickness, he knew it was at least $10,000. That was a lot. He was overjoyed. Mr. Zhao, I have another case I'd like your opinion on, Cole said, wanting to ask about the Trevor Zhang situation. Of course, Mr. Chun. Please go ahead, Mr. Zhao said, feeling comfortable after receiving the large sum. It's like this. Cole explained the situation. After listening, Mr. Zhao waved his hand dismissively. You don't have to worry about that. This case will never reach you, he said with a relaxed expression. He pondered for a moment before continuing. The sexual assault charge won't stick. At most, it's a verbal warning and an apology to the victim. But this is no longer about assault. He stepped on a landmine. You have nothing to worry about, Mr. Chun. Mr. Zhao was a man of the world, but even he was shocked by the power of Headline today's media offensive. It was as if a notice had been posted in front of every single college student. He had a faint feeling that this website was fundamentally different from a typical news portal. Since you say so, Mr. Zhao, then I'm relieved, Cole said with a nod. He had guessed the outcome, but hearing it from his lawyer made him even more certain. After lunch, Mr. Zhao politely declined Cole's offer to arrange a hotel, saying he planned to head straight back. Cole didn't insist. He and Serena returned to campus first, as she had a class in the afternoon. As he waited for a taxi, Mr. Zhao saw from a distance Miss Shen slip her hand into Mr. Chen's. A muscle in his eye twitched. He wrestled with his conscience for a long moment before finally suppressing the urge to tattle. It was better not to get involved. 2 days later, Trevor Zhang returned to Rockford from New York. He looked haggard, his eyes sunken. He had been utterly defeated. Luxlight had shown him no mercy. His only hope now was to sell off his showroom at the retail park as quickly as possible and get some money back. He had just returned to his office when his phone rang. It was a local Rockford number, and a nice one at that. Hello. Trevor Zhang suppressed his anxiety, trying to keep his voice steady. Hello, Mr. Zhang. Our Ms. Fan would like to meet with you to discuss the Luxlight showroom. The voice on the other end was a young woman's. Ms. Fan? Which Ms. Fan is that? The name didn't ring a bell. Our Ms. Fan's name is Vanessa Fan. Perhaps you've heard of her, the young woman said calmly. Vanessa Fan? Trevor Zhang frowned, the name still not clicking. Wait a minute. I have heard that name. Oh my God, it's her. Trevor Zhang straightened his posture, a sycophantic smile spreading across his face. Excuse me, is this the esteemed Ms. Fan, daughter of the Honorable Lieutenant Governor Fan? The voice on the other end replied, Mr. Zhang, are there any other Ms. Fans who own property at the gallery? If you're interested in selling your showroom, you can come to Ms. Fan's office at the gallery to discuss it. Interested? Yes, very interested. I'm on my way now. Trevor Zhang felt as if he had just grabbed a lifeline. He immediately bolted for the door. He knew this Ms. Fan was a vulture circling for a deal, but she probably wouldn't rip him off too badly. If it were anyone else, they would haggle him down to nothing. It seemed Ms. Fan was planning to become the new distributor. She might have even sealed the deal already. The next morning, Cole received a call from Vanessa Fan. Little Chun, come to my office, would you? There's something I want to talk to you about. Her soft, velvety voice purred through the phone. You got it, Vanessa. I'm on my way, Cole replied. He didn't know the reason, but he was sure it meant money. Otherwise, she wouldn't waste her time calling him. He arrived at Caspian Enterprises at the gallery, gave a nod to the receptionist, and walked straight to Vanessa Fan's office. When he entered, he saw her sitting on a small sofa, brewing herbal tea. She was wearing a khaki coat and black leggings, her hair simply tied back, revealing ears adorned with diamond studs. The fabric of her coat looked expensive. Her complexion was a bit better than the last time he'd seen her. Have a seat, little Chun. Vanessa, you have my full attention. The sofa was a love seat, so Cole had no choice but to sit next to her, leaving a small gap between them to avoid looking presumptuous. I want to discuss another contract with you, but you'll have to give me a discount, Vanessa said, a smile playing on her lips, her eyes holding a hint of flirtation. But of course, a discount is a must. Vanessa, you trust me so much. How could I not show my appreciation? Cole was practically giddy. This woman was a goldmine. It's about the Luxlight lamps. I've taken over the distributorship. Just waiting for the paperwork to be finalized. Then we can start the ad campaign. Vanessa, you are incredible. Cole gave her thumbs up, genuinely surprised. This woman was something else. She moved so fast. To swoop in and snatch it up just like that. She had some serious power. I don't need much. Just give me a 20% discount. I'll deposit $50,000. Spend it all. I want you to rehabilitate the Luxlight brand and take it to the next level. Can you do that? Vanessa's gaze was a mixture of amusement and challenge, her fingers tapping lightly on her thigh. Yes, absolutely, Vanessa. Consider it done. Leave it to me. Cole patted his chest. $50,000. He'd launder its reputation into that of a saintly, conscientious brand for that kind of money. All right then, shall we sign a contract? You didn't happen to bring one with you this time, did you? Vanessa glanced at the black briefcase Cole had placed next to him. You know me too well, Vanessa. I really did, Cole said with a grin. As a former elite salesman, he never left home without a contract. You never knew. And here it was, the you never know moment. Just as he was speaking, a figure appeared in the doorway. It was the girl named Lynn. She was dressed in a preppy style, with large hoop earrings, her expression still cool and detached. Lynn, come on in. You two have met a few times, haven't you? Come sit with us, Vanessa said, gesturing to her daughter with her chin. Lynn walked over silently and sat in a nearby chair. She glanced at Cole, then looked down at her phone, saying nothing. Cole's scalp tingled. What is this? Was Yvonne right? Is she trying to recruit a son-in-law? No way. I'm perfectly happy being Jasmine's kept man. Little Chun, this is my daughter, Lynn Fan. She's a year younger than you. You're close in age. You could be friends, Vanessa said with a smile. Hi, Lynn. Cole had to be polite. After all, she just said they could be friends. He couldn't get ahead of himself. Hi, Lynn replied coolly. Just as Cole was about to say something to break the tension, his phone rang. He pulled it out, intending to decline the call, but saw it was Serena. He hesitated. He couldn't just ignore her. Go on, answer it. It's fine, Vanessa said gently. Thanks, Vanessa. I'll just tell her I'm busy. Cole, answer the call. Serena's sweet, girlish voice came through the phone. Cole, I don't have class tonight. Even without speakerphone, her melodious voice filled the small space. Okay, I got it. I'm at the gallery signing a contract. I'll be back soon, Cole replied in a soft, warm tone. At that moment, Lynn shot up from her chair, turned, and walked out. Hey, Lynn. A flicker of disappointment crossed Vanessa's face. After hanging up, Cole chatted with Vanessa for a few more minutes before making a hasty exit. 8 o'clock that night. Apartment 2201, Building C, the Golden Bay Residences. In the master bedroom, Serena was examining herself in a small mirror, turning this way and that. The form-fitting black outfit accentuated every curve. It was a little sheer. Her legs were encased in smooth, black stockings. Atop her head sat 2 perky cat ears, and a cute little tail was attached to her back. Serena's face grew redder and redder. This scoundrel, making me wear such a strange outfit. It's so embarrassing, but it does look kind of good. Meanwhile, Cole was waiting leisurely. He knew Serena would change into it. He had just drawn the curtains in the living room when he heard her voice from the master bedroom door. Cole, turn around. A small head, adorned with cat ears, peeked around the doorframe. Her face was bright red, her gaze shy. She bit her lower lip and let out a soft, delicate sound. Meow. That single, unexpected meow left Cole stunned. It was as if a litter of tiny kittens had burrowed into his chest, scampering and tumbling around, mewing incessantly. His queen Serena was a natural at this. Cole's own face fell hot. His eyes burned with a desperate urge to pet the kitty. Baby, let me see. Oomph. No, I'll scratch you. Serena wrinkled her little nose, tilting her chin up with a look of pure sass. She even held up a small hand and made a scratching motion. Meow. That did it. Cole was officially worked up. He chuckled and started walking towards her, his pace quickening. I just love little kitties. Oh, the bad man is coming. Serena shrieked playfully and pulled her head back. The now animalistic Cole chased her into the room, just in time to see 2 black stockinged feet disappear under the covers. The blanket bulged. Clearly, a certain enchanting little cat was hiding inside. Where's my little kitty? Cole asked in a low, gravelly voice, imitating a lecherous bear. The little devil on his shoulder cackled. My sexy little wildcat, here I come. The angel shot him a look of disdain. You pervert. Have you no shame? The devil flipped him the bird. The edge of the blanket rolled inward as the person underneath wiggled and giggled. No. Then what's under the blanket? Cole asked, playing along with gusto. It's your baby. Then why is the blanket bulging so high? Did my baby hide a little kitty under there? No, that's just the baby. Is that so? I'll have to check. Cole grinned and dove headfirst under the covers. The lamplight streamed in with him, revealing an adorable, enchanting mocat girl. The blanket suddenly expanded, turning into a writhing, struggling mound. Oh, the bad man is here. And you said there was no kitty hidden here. What's this then? It's not. Smack. You spanked the little kitty's bottom. So, are you a little kitty or not? Yes. Whose little kitty are you? I'm your little kitty. Good girl. And how does a little kitty sound? Meow, oh meow, are you bad man? That night, Cole and a certain sexy, adorable little kitty talked until very late. The morning light, once again, illuminated the room. Serena, already dressed in her own clothes, sat on the edge of the bed, happily swinging her legs. In a sweet voice, she commanded, put on baby's shoes. Coming. Cole, the ultimate simp, immediately knelt down, holding her shoes. He gently slipped them onto her small feet. Serena contentedly played with his hair, humming a little song. Once her shoes were on, Cole stood up and ruffled her hair. There! Serena got up, placed her hands on his shoulders, and leaped. With perfect coordination, Cole caught her, his hands supporting her bottom. A flawless waist clamp carry. Serena buried her face in his neck and took a deep sniff. You have to put my perfume on me later. Okay, and I'll put yours on you. Okay. Accompanied by Serena's playful laughter, they went to wash up. The noodle shop on the street was still packed, but there were no empty stools. Just as their noodles were ready, a customer left. Serena immediately rushed over to claim the spot, flashing Cole a triumphant, look what it did smile. Cole gave her a big thumbs up and a firm nod. The people nearby looked on, completely speechless. The shop owner, a man in his 50s, glanced back and forth between Cole and Serena. Strange, he thought. I could have sworn it wasn't this girl the other day. Am I seeing things? Serena didn't have an 8 a.m. class, so Cole walked her to the law school's girls' dorm. Inside her room, Zoe was leaning against her headboard, reading. The other roommates were still asleep. Seeing Serena return after being out all night, Zoe smiled and greeted her. "Morning, Serena." "Morning, Serena." "Morning," Serena replied with a warm smile. She hadn't received any calls from her mother last night. Since her roommate had clearly agreed to be friends, she wasn't going to be cold. "Want to walk to class together later?" Zoe invited. "Sure." Hearing the friendly tone in her roommate's voice, Zoe relaxed. She had figured it out. She could just make up some little detail to complete her mission. There was no need to completely alienate her roommate. On his way back to the venture lab, Cole received a phone call. "Mr. Zhang, what can I do for you?" "Mr. Chen, can we discuss something?" "A partial refund on the contract fee." Trevor Zhang's voice on the other end was much more subdued. Cole let out a silent, cold laugh. "I'm sorry, Mr. Zhang. A contract is a contract. I can't make an exception. Otherwise, what would happen with future contracts? People would think they could just back out whenever they want. What about the effort our employees put in?" There was a moment of silence on the other end before he spoke again. "Mr. Chen, what do I have to do to earn Ms. Amy's forgiveness?" The question surprised Cole slightly. It seemed this Trevor Zhang was a smart man after all. He knew how to read a situation. A pity he'd let a little money go to his head. But that was a common failing. Why else would you see people in the future blocking traffic, yelling about who they were, only to have the scandal bring down the powerful figures behind them? Cole thought for a moment. Register an account on Headline today, using your real name. Post a public apology on it. After that, the police proceedings will continue as they must, but Amy will provide the police with a letter of forgiveness. He understood this was Zhang's way of creating a back door for himself, to avoid getting entangled in a sexual assault scandal down the line. The key was, with the university's backing, he couldn't win. A private apology wouldn't do Amy any good. It had to be public. It all depended on whether he could swallow this bitter pill. Trevor Zhang fell silent again. After a long moment, he said in a heavy voice, "All right, I agree. I hope you'll also keep your word, Mr. Chun, and have Ms. Amy provide the letter of forgiveness." "I can do that." Cole didn't think it would be a problem. He would still count this contract towards Amy's performance bonus. The money he would have paid her for the original contract would still be hers. And she would also handle the rebranding of Luxlight. A public apology was much more beneficial to Amy's reputation than a messy, dragged-out fight. In the morning, Trevor Zhang's personal account posted the apology. It stated that he had made some disrespectful remarks to Ms. Amy and had attempted to make a move, but was sternly rejected. After reading it, Cole couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. He learned his lesson. After confirming there were no loopholes, he had the back-end team push the post. Immediately following was a post from the new Luxlight distributor's account, stating that Zhang's actions were his own and had nothing to do with the Luxlight brand. Furthermore, Luxlight had already revoked his distribution license. They hoped everyone would not extend their anger to the brand itself. Cole held this post back for a few hours, waiting for Zhang's apology to spread before pushing it out. Subsequently, Amy, at Cole's direction, also posted a letter of forgiveness, clarifying that the incident had nothing to do with Luxlight and that she had also received an official apology from the company. The next day, Whitney took the planning department and Amy back to the Luxlight showroom. The content of the ad campaign was different from before. After all, it was a $50,000 contract. They had barely left when Yvonne returned. Yvonne rolled her suitcase directly into the Headline Today office, wearing her exhaustion like a badge of honor. She struck a deliberately proud pose in front of Cole, her expression practically screaming, "Well, aren't you going to praise me? Well, look who it is. Our esteemed director of marketing returns. You must be exhausted." Cole jogged over and took the suitcase from her. He was never stingy with praise for a key player who could handle major responsibilities on her own. As long as they were making money, his own pride was worthless. He'd been waiting for her by the elevator. Last night, her repeated messages on Facebook Messenger, reminding him of her arrival time, were as subtle as a neon sign. Yvonne followed Cole into the office, Suite 1520. "Everyone, Director Yvonne is back. Let's give her a hand." Cole started clapping. A warm round of applause filled the room. "Welcome back, Yvonne. Great work." The praise was music to her ears. It's good to be back. I've really missed you all," Yvonne said, her smile starting as a demure curve before blossoming into a brilliant beam. She opened her suitcase and started handing out snacks she'd brought back from her trip. She was deeply satisfied with Cole's reception. It made the grueling work of setting up 3 new offices in 3 different cities feel worth it. Without Cole by her side, the pressure had been immense. The new assistant she'd just hired was already so wiped out she'd gone straight to her dorm to crash. Later, Cole and Yvonne met in the small conference room to debrief. The 3 new offices were being managed by former standouts from their own promotions team, so things were basically stable. Yvonne, it's going to be tough on you for a while longer, Cole said sincerely. Yvonne pouted. You know how hard I've worked, and you're not even going to offer to buy me dinner? Of course. Absolutely. Dinner's on me tonight. Cole slapped his chest. All right, you said it. Yvonne's heart leaped. Finally, another chance to spend some one-on-one time with him. When dinner time arrived, the 2 of them were sitting in the campus cafeteria. Yvonne stared at her plastic tray, completely speechless. This is you treating me to dinner? The cafeteria food is pretty good. Order whatever you want, Cole said with a sly grin. He was too lazy to go off campus. It was such a hassle. No matter how much I order, I can only eat so much. This is so infuriating. Yvonne pouted, genuinely annoyed. You'll be happy when you see your bonus. A fancy meal or a big bonus? Which one do you want? Cole laughed. The bonus. Yvonne shot back without a moment's hesitation. Who would turn down money? Cole's bonuses were always generous, and this time, she knew it would be substantial. There you go, then. Now eat up, Cole said, raising his eyebrows and tilting his chin. And after you're done, I need you to do me a small favor. What kind of favor? As long as it's not out of line, anything goes, Yvonne said, hugging her chest excitedly. Post in a main company group chat and suggest a team outing to North Lake to see the cherry blossoms this weekend. Why? Yvonne was confused for a second, then her eyes lit up. Oh, I get it. They all want to go with you, so you want to lump everyone together? You're so clever you just had to say it out loud, didn't you? So what's in it for me? An extra $500 on your bonus. Deal. Yvonne wanted to say no, but she knew forcing the issue wouldn't get her anywhere. There was always time. Yvonne, the mastermind, could play the long game. For now, she'd take the $500. She immediately pulled out her phone. In the Headline Today group chat, a message popped up from the director of marketing. Yvonne Wong. Hey everyone, how about a team trip to the North Lake Cherry Blossom Garden this Saturday? At everyone. The chat immediately exploded. I'm in. I had nothing planned anyway. Go. Me too. Cabra my girlfriend. Yvonne Wong. Partners are welcome. She shot a look at Cole. You're the one with all the partners. A moment later, a message from Cole appeared. Cole-chun. Great idea, Yvonne. I was actually planning on going to see the blossoms myself. Let's all go together. Partners are welcome. The company will cover snacks for the trip. The group erupted in cheers. A lot of the guys at Headline Today had girlfriends now. With more money in their pockets and a boost in confidence, their appeal had grown. Cole had planned this carefully. That morning, Serena had messaged him, asking to see the cherry blossoms. He'd happily agreed. But then, a message from Jasmine arrived with the same request. As he was trying to figure out how to schedule them both, Luna messaged him too, saying she wanted to see the blossoms. It was the first cherry blossom season since she'd arrived at Eastwood. After thinking it over, Cole decided going together was the best option. It would help his 3 little darlings get more accustomed to each other. A company outing would create a useful distraction. They would be more conscious of their public image and act with more restraint, preventing any subconscious displays of intimacy that might arouse suspicion in the other 2. Cole knew they would be suspicious, but suspicion without proof was a different beast entirely. Proof would create a point of no return. That's just how people work. He replied to each of them. To Jasmine, sis, let's all go together on Saturday. We'll go again, just the 2 of us another time. To Serena, prize piglet, we'll have to go as a group on Saturday. We'll sneak off for a private trip later. To Luna, Lou, we'll have to go with everyone this time. We can go again, just us in a little while. Soon, replies came back from all 3. They all agreed. Cole breathed a sigh of relief. Mid-March was cherry blossom season. It was an unavoidable hurdle. As long as he was careful, it should be fine. Because the event was voluntary, very few people from the promotions team signed up. They were always running around and were completely exhausted. Their idea of a weekend was an all-nighter gaming, hitting the clubs on Friday, and sleeping all day Saturday. Cole understood completely. In his past life, he'd been the same, grabbing a foot massage, then hitting a karaoke bar with a few coworkers and some girls. Or they just go to a club, a few guys together, order drinks, and watch the girls in short skirts dance on the tables. They were just part of the atmosphere. So, tomorrow, should I stick with you? Yvonne asked thoughtfully. Duh. Of course you have to stick with me. That's the after-sales service for your $500 bonus, Cole said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Who else but Yvonne could he rely on? She could help distract his 3 darlings. That's going to cost you extra. Yvonne immediately tried to leverage the situation. "You don't stick around, you don't get the 500, Cole said, not falling for it as he shoveled food into his mouth. "You monster." Yvonne took a vicious bite of her braised chicken leg. But despite her words, she was secretly thrilled. She thrived in these situations. All four of them thought she was their inside agent. What could she say? She was just that good. Before Saturday, the planning department delivered 5 different campaign proposals for Luxlight eye care lamps. After a thorough review, they went with the first one. It featured 3 scenarios with corresponding taglines. Love your eyes, protect your brilliant future. Let the light of Luxlight watch over your lonely nights of study. Whether you win or lose the game, your eyes and your mind deserve to relax. The distributor, Mrs. Fan, was very satisfied. To help Vanessa Fan's business take off quickly, Cole also had the other ad personalities join in. Fiona, the CEO with a killer edge from online novels. Frank, the douchey dude from entertainment. And Preston, the self-proclaimed handsome social media influencer. Some girls didn't like Amy's ads. Some of the more high-minded students, both male and female, couldn't stand Frank's protagonist. Others were indifferent to the convoluted, multi-sided love affair of the overbearing CEO's daughter. And some students just weren't into Preston's goofy antics. Since each had a different audience, pushing them all out was the most effective way to spread the word. The targeted ad push, combined with Amy's public statement, completely changed students' perception. Wow, so Luxlight is actually a responsible company. The issue was just with the distributor's personal actions. You can't blame the brand for that. And just like that, Luxlight eye care lamps became a hit. When a majority of people like something, almost everyone else follows suit. Herd mentality defies all logic. With a market of 1 million students in the city, the potential was huge. Even if only a third of them made a purchase, the profits would be enormous. The new Luxlight distributor, Vanessa Fan, couldn't stop smiling. She called Cole twice, showering him with praise. If other cities hadn't already had distributors, she would have expanded there herself. Saturday arrived. It was time for Cole's day of blissful suffering. The headline today, employees who wanted to see the cherry blossoms gathered at the Venture Lab. Those with girlfriends brought their girlfriends. Those with boyfriends brought their boyfriends. And those with nothing brought awkward, self-deprecating smiles. But once they all started mixing and talking, the loneliness faded. Cole, for his part, could only maintain a radiant, sun-like smile. His 3 darlings, Jasmine, Serena, and Luna, were standing with Yvonne, Whitney, and Fiona, chatting away. The temperature was in the high 50s, allowing the girls to shed their winter layers. Jasmine had her hair up in a crisp, clean top knot, accessorized with a pair of small, chic earrings that accentuated her perfect, refined features. She wore a simple, light gray tracksuit and sneakers, an understated but eye-catching look. Serena had her hair in a high ponytail, with a few strands left loose at her temples, adding a touch of layered elegance. She wore a short pink sweatshirt paired with white casual pants. Luna wore a loose, light gray sweatshirt and blue jeans, her black hair falling softly over her shoulders. Their outfits were common enough, but on them, they were breathtaking. With their figures and charisma, they could have warm potato sacks and still look stunning. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Whitney clapped her hands. "Let's go. Time for cherry blossoms." The group set off toward the North Lake Cherry Blossom Garden, chatting as they walked. Cole stuck with the 3 core guys from the development department, pulling Wyatt aside to talk. Wyatt knew what Cole was worried about and was happy to play along. Meanwhile, Yvonne linked arms with the 3 girls. With 7 or 8 of them walking together, chattering excitedly, the atmosphere was lively. Once they left campus and reached the North Lake area, the paths became crowded. It was peak cherry blossom season. The place was teeming with tourists, couples taking pictures, older women posing for photos. Not far away, a couple was even having their wedding photos taken. This scene caught the attention of the girls from Headline Today. They all stopped to watch, their faces filled with envy. The 3 campus beauties were no exception. Serena turned her head, craning her neck to find Cole. Her eyes lit up when she saw him. She smiled radiantly and pointed toward the wedding shoot. Cole understood the meaning in her gaze. "Look, do you see that?" When he was sure no one was looking, he gave a little wink and puckered his lips, just like that first time. Serena remembered his shamelessness back then. She wrinkled her little nose, shot him a playful, scolding glance, and then turned away, pretending to ignore him. Cole's heart pounded. He was terrified one of the others would turn around. If that happened, looking at anyone would be the wrong move. Just then, Luna turned, her eyes searching the crowd until they quickly found him. Cole smiled at her. A sweet, shy smile spread across Luna's face before she turned back to watch the wedding shoot, clearly captivated. The next moment, Jasmine turned to look at him too. She gave him a warm, tender smile, her soft gaze filled with a certain longing. Cole, of course, understood his sister's heart. He grinned, mimed grabbing something from his own heart, and threw it through the air toward her. Jasmine rolled her eyes at him, but the corners of her lips turned up in a smile as she turned away. After watching the wedding shoot for a while, the group continued walking. A group of women finished their photos and left, freeing up a prime spot between two blossoming cherry trees. "Whitney, take a picture of me," Yvonne cried, rushing under the cherry tree. She kicked one leg back and flashed a peace sign. Whitney raised her digital camera. Click, click. She fired off a few quick, careless shots. Yvonne struck a few more poses, the only constant being her peace sign. After the other girls from Headline Today had taken their turns, Jasmine suddenly called out, "Cole, come here." Cole trotted over obediently. "What's up, sis?" He knew what she wanted, but he had to ask. The other two were right there. He couldn't seem too in sync with her. "Let's get a picture together," Jasmine said, walking under the cherry tree first. Her eyes were filled with a gentle, yearning look. It had been so long since she'd taken a picture with her brother. "You got it." Cole went and stood to her left. Serena's and Luna's gazes immediately filled with a similar longing. Cole stopped Jasmine as she was about to make a peace sign. "Sis, here, do what I do." He reached his left hand up and around his head, leaning his body to the side, his hand shaped like the beak of a crane. He was making half of a heart. Jasmine didn't know what it meant, but since her brother told her to, she followed his lead. She stretched her body, gracefully mirroring his pose. It looked much better on her. On Cole, it just looked distorted. At first, no one else understood. But when they saw the two of them together, their poses forming a complete shape, it dawned on them. Serena's and Luna's eyes flickered. Cole, the master manipulator, quickly dispelled any misunderstanding. He laughed and said, "This is called unified effort." "Oh, so it's unified effort." Everyone smiled and nodded. It made sense. It was very appropriate for the occasion. Serena's and Luna's expressions softened. Whitney snapped a series of pictures. "Cole, I want to do unified effort too." Serena bounced on her feet excitedly. Looking at her, you could tell that if no one else were around, she would have already leaped into his arms. "All right, let's do it. We definitely need some unified effort," Cole said with a calm smile, though he felt anything but. This was all part of his plan. Jasmine happily returned to Yvonne's side. While she didn't love the idea of her brother taking pictures with other girls, she couldn't really object. And the whole unified effort thing was a plausible excuse. "It's just, why are you smiling so brightly, you little brat? Just showing little teeth would be enough." After her picture, Serena returned, completely satisfied. Cole saw Luna looking eager, but too shy to ask. He gave her a reassuring wave. "Lou, come on. We need some unified effort too." He said it openly and righteously. It could easily be interpreted as working hard together. Luna walked over happily and struck the unified effort pose with Cole. Everyone was happy, but the unified effort craze didn't stop there. Yvonne, Whitney, and Fiona all went up to have their picture taken with the boss. Even Wyatt and the other guys went up for a round. The feeling of doing the unified effort pose with another guy made Cole's mouth twitch, but he endured it, maintaining his brilliant smile. Seeing this, Jasmine suddenly felt much better. The couples from Headline Today also took turns doing the pose. Just as they were about to leave, Whitney shouted, "Cole, you, Jasmine, Serena, and Luna should all do a unified effort picture together. The four of you." The idea had just popped in her head, and she blurted it out before she could stop herself. The moment the words left her mouth, she regretted it. The air suddenly went still. Yvonne gave Whitney a silent thumbs up. "Classic you." Wyatt turned to Marcus and began discussing a bug with grave seriousness. Cole shot Whitney along. "Hard look? Just you wait, Whitney, you on. Next time we go out, I'm bringing duct tape for your mouth." The situation wasn't as tense as he'd feared. The three darlings all had faint smiles on their faces. "Well, let's take one together then," Jasmine said, looking at the other two. "Okay, Jasmine, sis." Serena agreed readily. "Okay." Luna nodded softly. Yes, yes, yes. You should definitely take one with the boss. Unified effort for a glorious future." Yvonne chimed in, pumping her fist with positive energy. "Cole, that's the best I can do for you," she thought. The three women all looked at Cole. The surrounding Headline Today employees were pretending to chat amongst themselves, but their attention was completely fixed on the scene. A wave of curiosity rippled through them. What would it look like the three campus beauties from law, politics, and finance doing the unified effort pose with the boss? Would their expressions be harmonious? Those who were out of the loop were just enjoying the show. Those in the know, or who at least had their suspicions, were eagerly awaiting the outcome. Brianna and Felicity, the two accountants, were also there. Felicity's gaze darted back and forth between the two department heads and Cole, her eyes filled with confusion and deep thought. The way those two look at Cole is so strange. It's like they're in love. She cursed herself for never having been in a relationship, unable to precisely decipher the meaning in their eyes. But it really looked like it. She couldn't help but worry for Luna, making a mental note to warn her naive roommate later. Under the concerned gazes of the crowd, Cole let out a hearty laugh. We absolutely have to get one. Would the three directors please come over again? His smile was 70% enthusiasm and 30% intimacy. His momentary eye contact with each of his darlings was completely open and frank. You thought it was just enthusiasm for his core management team, but he was subtly exuding intimacy. You thought he was being intimate, but it seemed no different from how he treated Wyatt. Cole's acting skills had reached their peak. He had to make sure each of them felt his unique and special attention. The three girls, their smiles graceful and composed, walked toward him as if they hadn't noticed a thing. But positioning was a problem. Whoever wasn't standing right next to him would inevitably feel left out. That was terrible for unity. This, however, was no challenge for Cole. A spark of inspiration flashed in his mind, and he had a solution. He almost messed up as he opened his mouth, barely swallowing the word darlings before it escaped. Okay, how about this? Let's all do this pose. Before anyone could choose a spot, he brought his hands together in front of his chest, forming a heart shape. Then he sank into a low horse stance. I'll squat down, and you guys can stand behind me. Sis, you stand here, and put your hands on my head. Cole gently guided Jasmine to stand behind him. From this angle, she would be partially blocked, but he deliberately added, sis, on my head, to counteract any potential displeasure she might or might not feel. It didn't matter if she would be upset or not. He had to say it. Who could argue with his sister patting him on the head? It showed he valued her, so she wouldn't be unhappy about standing behind, and it made Serena and Luna feel like he wasn't playing favorites. Serena and Luna, indeed, didn't think anything of it. As his sister, it was perfectly normal for Jasmine to touch Cole's head. They stood on either side of him, mirroring his heart pose. Jasmine wasn't bothered either. In fact, she quite liked it. She made a heart shape with her hands and placed them on her brother's head, feeling a sense of possessive satisfaction. He might be the boss, but she was the only one who could touch his head. With the pose set, Whitney found the right angle and shouted, "Say cheese." The four of them broke into brilliant smiles. Click, click. Whitney took several shots, then looked down at the camera and gave an okay sign. Got it, looks great. Let me see. Cole eagerly went over to inspect the results, his heart finally relaxing. He could tell his three darlings weren't upset. The three girls followed him over. Cole took the camera. He was extremely pleased. The overall effect was perfectly harmonious. Everyone was smiling sweetly, like a close-knit family. Perfect. Whitney, get all the pictures from today printed out. Make extra copies of this one. I'll cover it, Cole said, handing the camera back to Jasmine, who had reached out for it. The three girls huddled together, looking at the group photo. Whether it was Whitney's skill with the camera or the natural chemistry of the four of them, everything just seemed to fit. They were standing so close, yet it all looked so natural. At first glance, you couldn't tell which of them was Cole's other half. Yet, they blended together perfectly, as if the four of them were always meant to be a family. The three girls' gazes suddenly turned strange. They glanced at each other, then quickly looked away. It felt so right, yet something felt wrong. They couldn't quite put their finger on it. There was a sour feeling bubbling up inside, but it couldn't quite break the surface, leaving them with a frustrating sense of unease. The others from the office reigned in their own complex thoughts. They couldn't figure Cole out anymore. How did he get three campus goddesses to smile like that? Weren't they suspicious of each other? The guys, especially, were feeling a mix of emotions they couldn't name. It was truly enviable. At that moment, Cole felt a flicker of pride. It had been easier than he'd expected. As long as he paid attention to the details and was careful, situations like this were just minor skirmishes. The group merged back into the throng of tourists, walking and talking. The beauty of the cherry blossoms held a stronger appeal for the girls. You could tell by their joyful exclamations. Cole, however, felt nothing for them. The only time he'd ever cared about flowers and grass was back when he was a simp, trying to appear deep and romantic. After he woke up, he was consumed by work, building his company. He had no time for birdsong and fragrant flowers. His mind was solely focused on his bank balance. His perception of relationships had also undergone a winding transformation. From being hopelessly infatuated, he'd swung to zipping up his pants and not looking back. From self-proclaimed devotion, he'd become capable of cutting ties in an instant. And now he was back to feeling tenderness and longing. But his feelings for flowers and plants had never returned. He was just doing his best to play along for his three darlings, disingenuously chatting about how beautiful the sea of blossoms was, his expression full of adoration for the blooming cherry trees. His praise for the flowers was sincere in one respect, though. This sea of blossoms brought joy to the people he loved. Beyond that, he couldn't care less. The cherry blossom season was short, 4 to 10 days of brilliance. He didn't like that. As Cole's thoughts drifted, he heard Jasmine suddenly say, "It's a shame their bloom is so short. Thinking about how they're about to wither away feels so regrettable." Jasmine said this while standing in the middle of the other girls. It seemed a bit of a downer for a flower viewing trip. Then, Serena added, "We see the flowers as radiant, but perhaps the flowers themselves are grieving." The other girls looked at them strangely. Yvonne and the others were clueless, blinking, not knowing what to say. Just then, Luna also sighed with emotion, her voice soft. "A flower's face may be beautiful, but it's as fleeting as a night blooming cereus. A blade of grass is plain, but it stubbornly returns next year." The three girls instinctively looked at each other. Then, they shared a knowing smile. The others were completely baffled. "Are you guys studying for the GMATs or something?" Fiona's eyes widened, her expression comically exaggerated. As a web novelist and a connoisseur of convoluted love triangles, even she couldn't comprehend this scene of harmonious rivals. Even the tourists passing by chuckled when they overheard. This wasn't appreciating flowers. This was being a buzzkill. They were pretty, but they seemed too rigid, probably pessimists. "I'm actually planning on getting my MBA, but that wasn't on the test," Jasmine said with a hint of apology. "I just suddenly felt a bit emotional. Sorry for bringing down the mood. I want to apologize to everyone, too. I just couldn't help myself," Serena added with an apologetic smile. "Me too. It just popped into my head. I'm sorry, everyone," Luna said, her expression slightly shy. Just then, Cole's voice cut in. Everyone turned to see him, standing with his hands clasped behind his back, looking like a profound, posturing intellectual. "Actually, I think our three directors are absolutely right. It's a good reminder for us. If headline today blossoms like these cherry trees and brings us great fortune, we must remain humble, driven, innovative, and pioneering. And if headline today's blossoms fall and we face hardship, we must swim against the current, strive forward, and be as resilient as blades of grass." "Well said," Wyatt exclaimed, immediately starting to clap. Cole rarely gave a corporate pep talk. This deserved enthusiastic support. "The boss is right," Yvonne chimed in. Everyone else followed suit, their applause drawing curious glances from nearby tourists. Were these college students on a study trip to the cherry blossom garden? Serena's and Luna's eyes sparkled as they clapped, their hands turning red. "No need to clap, everyone, huh? It was just a thought," Cole said, raising his hands to quiet them down. He had genuinely just thought of it, but the applause made him a little embarrassed. Jasmine's eyes were filled with the pride of a mother seeing her child come of age. She stopped clapping and seized the opportunity. Cole said it perfectly. From now on, the corporate culture of headline today will be: strive forward, innovate and pioneer, fear no storm, and be the resilient grass that grows strong. What does everyone think? "Yes, that's great. Perfect. That's the one." Everyone voiced their approval. How could they not? It was actually pretty good. No matter how big the storm, the grass would survive. "We'll go with what Director Yang says," Cole readily agreed. Spreading across the market with a low profile, quietly establishing a firm foothold, it fit headline today's current position perfectly. The way his three darlings had been so in sync while admiring the flowers had been a pleasant surprise. It seemed they were destined to become close friends. Yes, that was it. After that interlude, the group's interest in the cherry blossoms waned. The team split into two. The couples went their own way, while the single people stuck together, further dividing into a group of guys and a group of girls. Cole, on the surface, was also single, so he shamelessly joined Wyatt and the others, though it was really to escape the sweet gazes of the three women. The group ambled along the greenway toward the center of the lake, unanimously deciding against renting bikes. They would walk to the first convenience store and then take a break. The March sun over North Lake was just right, the scenery picturesque. The path was crowded with cyclists. Cole had to walk a little ahead, constantly keeping an eye on the bikes behind him and reminding the three girls who were walking on the inside of the path to be careful. They always instinctively gave way to others, letting them have the safer space by the edge. Cole's worry wasn't unfounded. A couple of years from now, there would be incidents at North Lake, someone crashing their bike and dying, and even someone else being run over and killed by a bicycle. How bizarre is that? It led to a temporary ban on cycling in the area. Thanks to Cole's vigilance, a potential accident was averted. A good-looking guy on a bike was talking to his friend and not watching where he was going. When he finally looked forward, he swerved, nearly hitting Jasmine from behind. But Cole had been watching. He lunged forward and grabbed the handlebars, bringing the guy and his bike to a halt. Jasmine was startled, only then realizing her brother had been looking out for her the whole time. A warmth spread through her heart. Thank goodness for her brother. The girls had to walk in a single file line, which made it hard to chat. They picked up their pace, deciding to rest at the convenience store up ahead before walking the rest of the renovated greenway. The couples had long since disappeared. The remaining group consisted only of singles and suspected singles. In 2010, there was only one convenience store on this greenway, unlike the 4 or 5 that would line the path in the future. It was the same one Cole and Jasmine had visited before. When they arrived, those who needed the restroom went, while the others went inside to buy snacks. They came out with several bags of various treats. There were no chairs outside, so they stood around in small groups, eating and talking. Naturally, Cole was with his 3 darlings. All 3 of them wanted him there. It was unavoidable. Normally, Cole would be attending to Jasmine's every need, but today he didn't dare. Fortunately, Jasmine was always mindful of propriety and wouldn't act overly intimate in front of company colleagues. Serena and Luna were the same, exceptionally considerate. Still, Cole diligently opened wrappers and twisted off bottle caps for them. Not far away stood another group of people. Coincidentally, Cole had seen them all before. Cora and Isabel, the 2 members of the outreach committee, were there, as was the master of many admirers, Julia. Each had their own followers. Cora's suitor was new, a slightly heavy-set guy who, based on his clothes, seemed to have some money. Isabel was still with that guy Ethan Zung, whom Cole had met at the door mixer. And Julia was still flanked by the ever-loyal Simon, a camera bag slung around his neck. There were a few other guys and girls he didn't recognize, probably there for some kind of photo shoot. Cole had noticed them when he arrived, but had no interest in saying hello. "Isn't that Cole?" Isabel whispered to Cora, her gaze lingering on him with a trace of resentment and melancholy. "I saw him earlier. It's the Headline Today crew, probably a company outing," Cora said coolly. "Cora, who are you guys talking about?" the heavy-set guy asked. Just some guy who thinks he's all that," Cora said, the memory of her embarrassing attempt to get his number resurfacing, reigniting her resentment. Isabel's follower, Ethan, jutted his chin toward the group. The tall one, standing with the 3 goddesses. "That's the boss of Headline Today, Cole Chun," Simon added. Since running into Cole in their hometown, he felt he understood him a bit better. Those 3 beauties were definitely close with him. But Simon was devoted to Julia, so his resistance to other beautiful women was naturally quite high. "He's the boss of Headline Today," the heavy-set guy, Rick, said with some surprise. But it was only surprise, and his eyes held a hint of disdain. "I thought he'd have 3 heads and 6 arms." His voice was a little too loud, and Cole glanced in their direction. Rick then asked with great interest, "So which one of those 3 is his girlfriend? What apartment are they in at Eastwood? Why don't you go ask him yourself?" Cora shot him a cold look that made Rick's face fall. "It's probably the one who looks really gentle. I saw her at that door mixer," Ethan said. Simon added quietly, "Is it possible? It's all of them. How is that possible?" Ethan scoffed. He noticed the strange look in Isabel's eyes and was instantly reminded of that night at the mixer. A fire of jealousy ignited within him. "If it's all 3, he said fiercely, "I'll do a handstand and take a dump." He added, "Getting one of them is already a miracle." 3? On what grounds? He's overestimating. "I'd say none of them are," Rick sneered. "Why do you say that?" Julia, who had been silent until now, asked. "They're not even standing close together. Look at me and Cora, then look at them." "That's why I don't think so," Rick said with absolute confidence. Julia glanced at their arms, pressed tightly together, and felt a wave of irritation. "If it weren't for the fact that she's cultivating you as one of her admirers, do you think Cora would let you touch her?" Seeing Isabel still glancing in their direction, Ethan felt a sour taste in his mouth. "It's just Headline Today, what's the big deal?" He deliberately said to Rick. "I don't even use his site. I mostly use Twitter. What's the use of a website that only circulates on campus? It's bound to be obsolete soon. And I heard he only got it started because of his connections." Otherwise, he wouldn't have gotten an office in the venture lab. Then he used those connections to land a few ad deals. It was basically handed to him on a silver platter. Anyone could have done it. Simon gave Ethan a strange look. You're planning to go into public service, but you sound like you graduated from Gotham City. If you're this prone to envy and greed, you'll end up in handcuffs the second you get a real job. Seeing Cole's success had changed something in Simon. He no longer felt the same competitive urge he once had. No wonder. Rick chuckled. He felt like Cora was also looking over there, but he couldn't tell if she was looking at the girls or the guy. That group was undeniably gorgeous. It was a shame he was already invested in Cora. Otherwise, he would have gone over to introduce himself. Maybe some other time. Julia's expression was complicated. If it weren't for Simon, her loyal fan, she would have already gone over. Headline today had stable revenue. As its boss, Cole was a prime catch. What a pity. She just couldn't compete with that girl from the tea shop. And the other two, she had no idea if there was anything between them besides work. But her woman's intuition told her there was. The air around them was thick with a mix of envy and jealousy. After a large bag of snacks was finished, Luna and Serena went to the restroom together. Cole, have a sip. Jasmine held a carton of milk with a straw in it to her brother's lips. He hadn't had anything to drink yet. With so many people around, she couldn't be too obvious. But now that most of them had gone to the restroom, she could feed him. Cole took a long sip through the straw. A satisfied smile spread across Jasmine's face. She loved moments like this with her brother. Over in the other group, Simon and the others all turned to stare at Ethan. Feeding him milk like that? They're definitely a thing. Aren't you supposed to be doing a handstand, Ann? You know? Ethan instantly understood their meaning, but he chose to have selective amnesia. What are you all looking at me for? He said defensively. The others turned away. It's not like they could actually make him do it. Look at him, making googly eyes at that girl. It's so creepy, right? Ethan couldn't stop himself from fuming. I just don't get it. A girl like that. How could she fall for his act? Huh, money obviously. What else could it be? Rick said, acting like he had it all figured out. All right, that's enough. Let's not talk about other people. It's their business. It has nothing to do with us, Simon said, unable to listen anymore. He'd heard Ethan was planning to apply for a prestigious government fellowship program. Could he really handle it? His words earned him a surprised look from Julia. But Ethan started saying more. Isabel cut him off, her face grim. That's enough. Are you done? What does it have to do with you? If you say one more word, I'm leaving right now. No, I just... Heh. Ethan stammered with an awkward wave of his hand. Aside from Simon, the others with complicated expressions were secretly hatching plans. If they spread some rumors about the boss of Headline today, could they cause some trouble for him? But Julia and the other girls quickly dismissed the thought. It was useless. This wasn't proof, and even if it was, it wouldn't matter. It would just make an enemy of Cole for no reason. After resting, the Headline Today group set off again. But walking in a single file line was inconvenient for conversation. After a while, they saw the path ahead split into an upper and lower level. The lower path was a renovated lakeside embankment, a proper walkway with benches. Fiona, leading the way, headed down. Instead of taking the stairs, she went down the concrete slope. The embankment was bordered by a low stone guardrail. Cole, afraid the girls would go down too fast and get hurt, followed close behind. The slope was about 60 degrees. It was actually easy to descend, but he couldn't help but worry. Fiona, Yvonne, and the others went down smoothly. Jasmine and Luna also made it down in a few steps. When it was Serena's turn, she was much slower, carefully inching her way down. She looked at the path below and braced herself, trying to copy Jasmine. She took a few running steps down the slope. Perhaps because she rarely did such playful things, she couldn't stop her momentum. Ah, she screamed, hurtling straight toward the thigh-high guardrail. If nothing changed, she would slam into it and, with the force of her momentum, tumble headfirst into the lake. The water near the edge wasn't deep, but getting soaked was inevitable. Jasmine and Luna were several yards away, too far to react in time. In that critical moment, Cole's safety-first instincts kicked in. With 2 swift bounds, he shot down the slope, landing firmly on the embankment and grabbing Serena just as she was about to hit the guardrail, pulling her into a tight embrace. Serena stared at the green water, her heart pounding. She did not want to be that embarrassed. Realizing it was Cole who had caught her, she instantly felt a sense of security. She wrapped her arms tightly around him, buried her face in his chest, and let out a few small whimpers, still shaken but feeling completely safe. Then, in a sweet, trembling voice, she cried, "Cole, I almost fell in. It's okay, it's okay. You're not going to fall," Cole soothed. But in the next second, his scalp tingled, and his whole body went rigid. Two pairs of eyes were locked on him. He tried to let go of Serena, but she was still too shaken to release her grip. Cole turned his head, his heart sinking, and looked toward Jasmine and Luna. Jasmine's gaze was calm, but it was too calm. And Luna's eyes were filled with a profound sadness and disbelief. Her mouth was already trembling, her lower lip quivering. Cole's heart ceased. Two words echoed in his mind. I'm screwed. Fate is a fickle thing. Just when you think you have everything under control, it launches a sneak attack to remind you of its power, to demand your respect. Cole had thought today's outing would go smoothly. He'd imagined the bond between his three darlings would grow even stronger. He never expected this. Time seemed to freeze. The calmness in Jasmine's eyes was like a slow descent into the deep sea, and Cole could clearly see the breathless despair in their depths. The anguish and pain in Luna's gaze were that of someone who had lost their sole pillar of support. For a moment, Cole's mind went blank, trapped by their stares. The next second he struggled free. Thoughts raced through his brain so fast they could have sparked. It was useless. There was no good solution. All he could do was hold on and hope to muddle through. The smile on Cole's face was a little stiff. He held up his hands in a gesture of awkward apology. This slope is pretty dangerous. Glad you're okay. He forced a calm expression and looked at Serena, who was still in his arms, patting her back a couple of times. There, you're all right. The other headline today, employees averted their eyes. It was best not to watch the boss's messy personal drama unfold. Only a few were still discreetly observing. Yvonne sighed internally. There's no fixing this. They were holding each other so tightly. The intimacy was impossible to hide. Anyone who saw it would be angry. Felicity's expression was one of vindication. I knew it. Serena was definitely Luna's rival. The question was, what would her roommate do now? Given her personality. This was going to be hard. Brianna looked at her roommate with worry, unsure what to say. It's okay. Director Shun, you're okay. Yvonne rushed over, pulling on Serena's arm, using concern as a pretext to intervene. Only then did Serena come to her senses, realizing that so many people were watching. She quickly let go of Cole, feeling a little flustered and embarrassed. She wasn't afraid of hugging him in public, but with everyone from Headline Today around, it felt inappropriate. She looked at Jasmine and Luna and forced a sheepish smile. I almost fell. Good thing Cole was so quick. She was well aware that those two also had feelings for Cole, but she was proud and disdained public displays of jealousy. She just wanted to make it clear that it was a complete accident. All right, let's keep going. Moving on. Yvonne clapped her hands, trying to help Cole move past the awkward moment. The group continued walking, but the atmosphere was no longer as harmonious. People spoke in hushed tones. The weather, which had been clear and sunny, now turned overcast. Jasmine walked in silence, occasionally offering a robotic smile in response to Yvonne. Luna no longer gazed at the vast expanse of North Lake. She walked with her head down, her long hair obscuring her face. Brianna and Felicity stayed by her side, occasionally pointing at distant scenery, trying to lift their roommate's spirits. But in a situation like this, there was nothing they could say. There was no way to begin to console her. If there was any consoling to be done, it would have to wait until they were back in their dorm. Serena trailed behind, making sporadic conversation with Fiona and Whitney. Her mood had soured as well. She wasn't oblivious to the heavy atmosphere. A little thought was all it took to know the reason. But that very reason proved that the other two's feelings for Cole were likely the same as hers. She even felt that if it had been Luna who had stumbled, Cole would have saved her just the same. How could that not put her in a bad mood? Cole, walking with Wyatt and the others, felt terrible. This was not the time to talk to any of them. Anything he said would be wrong. All he could do was keep his worried gaze on the three girls while making bland conversation with Wyatt. He had really messed up this time. Just when it seemed they were on the verge of a more harmonious relationship, an axe had fallen from the sky and severed the chain. He knew their personalities well. They seemed quiet, but they were strong-willed and had their own minds. This time, his fate was uncertain. He was dangerously close to losing everything. He might have already lost. His only chance was the place he held in their hearts. But that place was a fragile, intangible thing. A woman's heart is ever-changing. Lost in a fog, Cole's thoughts were a tangled mess, and he couldn't find a way out. The rest of the walk was joyless. The three girls didn't exchange another word, like strangers who had never met. The unspoken understanding they had always shared was shattered, laid bare for all to see. All three of them were trapped in an impossible situation. They had always sensed the other's feelings for Cole, but had never seen it with their own eyes. And because their own hearts were so full of him, they had deliberately ignored it. This wasn't because they were foolish. It was because they refused to become scheming shrews, scratching and clawing at the first sign of trouble, resorting to tears, slander, and tricks to fight for Cole's affection. That wasn't love. It was the bitterness of having a toy snatched away. But now, the situation forced them to confront everything about their relationships with Cole. The three girls were kind and magnanimous. Cole knew this better than anyone. Any other girl might have thrown something on the ground and stormed off in front of everyone, so furious that nothing could stop her. Cole considered himself extremely lucky. He wasn't like some of those poor saps from his past life. A man could be out with his girlfriend, and over some trivial matter, she would storm off in the middle of a mall or a busy street. If he tried to stop her, he'd be met with an even more furious reaction. After days of torment, he'd have to buy her a gift just to get past it. Even worse, the girl might turn around and start happily chatting with someone else, all the while thinking her emotional regulation was top-notch. It was the man's fault, so she was only angry at him, not all men. Cole felt for those guys because he had been one of them once. That one time was the final push that completed his transformation to the dark side. In contrast, the three girls walking ahead of him, despite their awful moods, were still mindful of the fact that they were part of a group activity. They were determined to see it through to the end. Cole's heart ached for their maturity, but he felt no guilt. He was just greedy. He couldn't change it. When faced with girls he had such deep connections with, girls he liked so much, what man wouldn't be greedy? Isn't making money all about enjoying life? Was it to maintain world peace? To be put on a moral pedestal by a bunch of hypocrites who were filthy in private? As long as the three of them came to him, he was determined to have them all. The wind from North Lake blew over him, and Cole gradually calmed down. This was a hurdle he had to cross eventually. Better sooner than later. If he made it, it would be a happy ending for everyone. If he didn't, then so be it. Cole kept a close watch on the three girls' safety for the rest of the walk. When they reached the end of the greenway, they were on Lakeside Road, a good distance from campus. Some people went off to eat. Others made plans to explore the nearby area. Cole stood at the edge of the road and hailed a taxi. Yvonne, you go back to campus with Serena. Okay, Cole. Yvonne understood immediately. Cole couldn't be in three places at once. Serena didn't have her roommates with her, so Yvonne was the most suitable companion. Serena gave Cole a hurt and resentful look. She bit her lip but said nothing, climbing into the back of the taxi. Yvonne followed her in. Cole's expression was calm, his emotions no longer turbulent. Whatever happened, he would deal with it one step at a time. Panicking was useless. A minute or two later, another taxi pulled up. Cole saw Jasmine about to hail it and quickly beat her to it, raising his hand. Jasmine's slightly raised hand fell back to her side. Her face was blank. She stood motionless. Brianna, Felicity, you two take Luna back to the dorm first, Cole said, giving the three of them a small smile. Luna, usually so gentle and warm, offered nothing in return. She stared blankly ahead, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Okay, Cole, Brianna said, giving him a complicated look before turning to Luna. Lou, let's go back, she said softly. Luna replied faintly. She opened the car door, sat inside, and turned to look out the other window. After Brianna and Felicity got in, the taxi drove away. Cole, we're going to go wander around for a bit before heading back, Wyatt said, knowing it was time to give him some space. Yeah, okay, Cole nodded. The rest of the headline today, crew left one by one, until only Cole and Jasmine remained. Another taxi came. Again, Cole flagged it down before anyone else could. He opened the door and looked at Jasmine, his voice soft. Sis, I'll take you back. Jasmine didn't speak. She looked up at the sky. A fine drizzle began to fall, cool against her face. Then, with a stony expression, she walked over and got into the car. She stared intently out the window, making no effort to look at her brother. Cole glanced at the sky and got in beside her. Eastwood Tech, please, he told the driver. The driver, a man in his 40s, glanced in the rearview mirror with a knowing look. Another young couple having a fight. The car started, heading along Lakeside Road toward Eastwood Tech. Not far away, Cora, Isabel, and the rest of their group were also waiting for a taxi. They had arrived a little after Cole. Looks like there's trouble in paradise, Cora said, crossing her arms with a smirk. She hadn't dared to say anything while Cole was still there, afraid he would overhear. But it was obvious the atmosphere in his group was off. Seeing the expressions on the girls' faces, she understood immediately. Someone's feelings have been hurt. It's about time. Guys like that get arrogant when they're successful. It's disgusting. It's better if they break up, Ethan said, rubbing his chin with a gloating expression. Anyone could see the shift in mood. It had definitely blown up. Huh. Yet he put on a look of profound relief, nodding as he continued. Those three girls have finally woken up. There are plenty of decent, loyal guys right here at Eastwood. Why pick a cheating scumbag like him? He'd just end up hurting them. Exactly. The saddest thing for a girl is to meet the wrong person at the right time. I just hope nothing, happened yet. If they see the light now, it's not too late, Rick added in solemn agreement, his eyes shining with the light of righteousness. Cora gave him a surprised look. What great catch. So smart. A shame he wasn't quite as wealthy as she'd hoped. He'd have to do for now. Ethan was still rambling on, mocking Cole, oblivious to the fact that Isabel's brow was deeply furrowed. This guy, who usually seemed so suave, now sounded like a bitter old crone, spewing resentment that drilled into her ears, making her heart pound with irritation. Julia, however, remained silent, her gaze fixed on the taxi, disappearing in the distance, a thoughtful look in her eyes that grew brighter and brighter. If they really broke up, then the words escaped her lips before she could stop them. Good riddance. It's for the best. Exactly. Good girls shouldn't be ruined by guys like that. Rick immediately agreed, feeling like he'd found his tribe. 100% broken up. If not, I'll do that handstand. Ethan shook his head, sneering. The three girls ignored the two geniuses, instinctively glancing at each other. In each other's eyes, they saw a flash of the same excited thought. It was called opportunity. They quickly looked away, their eyes now filled with caution. Only Simon said nothing. The day had given him a lot to think about, a pile of thoughts he had yet to digest. He glanced at his goddess, opened his mouth as if to speak, but then closed it again. In the taxi, Jasmine stared fixedly out the window. Cole didn't speak either. In the past, he would have reached for her hand and begged for forgiveness. Not now. It wasn't that he was afraid she'd pull away. He had to give her time to sort through her thoughts. Talking now would solve nothing. The more he explained, the more he would stoke her anger. It wasn't time to beg for mercy. Yet, this was his Jasmine. He couldn't let her bottle everything up, but he couldn't detonate the bomb too early either. He had to time it perfectly, according to her personality. They remained silent all the way to the gates of Eastwood Tech. Cole just stared straight ahead, appearing perfectly calm, showing no guilt for his actions. The moment the car stopped, Jasmine reached for the door. Cole gently pulled her arm. "Sis, it's not safe to get out on this side," he said quietly. He got out first, holding the door open. After Jasmine had slid over and gotten out, he got back in. "Sis, I'm heading back to campus now." He didn't wait for her to reply, telling the driver, "Eastwood University, please." But Jasmine didn't seem to have any intention of speaking anyway. She turned and walked directly toward the campus gate. Cole didn't turn his head to watch her go, firmly suppressing the chaotic thoughts in his mind. The little black and white figures in his head had transformed into a single, dark angel, seated at the center of his nervous system. This was an upgraded version, cold, ruthless. Only after the taxi had driven some distance did Jasmine stop and look back. She stared, her gaze filled with sorrow and hurt, until the taillights disappeared from view. Then she turned and walked through the gates. A student she knew greeted her. She managed to force a slight smile and a nod. At Eastwood University, the campus was especially lively on a Saturday, like a pedestrian mall. The light rain couldn't dampen the students' spirits, so they didn't even bother with umbrellas, walking and chatting leisurely, letting the rain fall. The wet pavement looked a lot like Cole's heart. Calm on the outside, but the sadness inside was just as real, brutally suppressed in the depths of his soul. Staying silent, not explaining himself, was its own form of torment. It's human nature to want to communicate. Suppressing that desire is suppressing humanity itself. Back in his dorm, all three of his roommates were there. Preston and Javier were on their beds, playing on their phones. Frank was typing furiously. Seeing Cole come in, Frank stopped. "Cole, the character based on you in my book is more popular than the main character now. He's kind of stealing the show. Should I make it a dual protagonist story? What do you think?" "No need. Just kill him off. Cancer, a dump truck, give him a works," Cole said listlessly, kicking off his shoes and climbing on his bed. Frank realized something was wrong. This wasn't like Cole at all. Preston and Javier also looked up at him, but seeing nothing out of the ordinary, they went back to their phones. Frank shook his head vigorously. "I can't do that. That character can't die. How about I give him amnesia? What do you think, Cole?" "Fine, whatever. Parkinson's works too," Cole replied from his death-like stupor. "Cole, are you okay? This whole vibe feels familiar," Preston said, sitting up with a start. "What'd be wrong with me? I'm fine. Just tired today." Cole closed his eyes, his hands clasped on his chest like a monk on the verge of nirvana. "I feel like I've seen this before, too," Frank muttered, tilting his head in deep thought. "I'm just tired, that's all. We walked a ton today. My feet are numb, Cole quickly interjected, trying to derail their trip down memory lane. His tactic worked. Being tired from a lot of walking was a perfectly good reason. The memory file that was about to light up in Frank's brain flickered out. A few more seconds of thought, and he would have remembered that he himself had been in this exact state before. As night fell, the rain grew heavier, a persistent, irritating patter. Jasmine lay on her side in bed, facing the wall, the curtain drawn. "Jasmine, what's wrong with you today?" her roommate, Wendy, asked curiously. Jasmine didn't answer, pretending to be asleep. Wendy shot a questioning look at Beth, who just shook her head, indicating she didn't know. Wendy's interest was piqued. Jasmine hadn't been like this in almost a year. In the past, she'd just get quiet. Could it be a breakup? If that was true, it was major news. But no matter how she probed, Jasmine remained silent. Jasmine's mind was filled with the image of her brother rushing down to save Serena, heedless of the danger. And the way Serena had hugged him so naturally, so tightly. The sickeningly sweet way she called his name. This was solid proof. Their relationship was definitely intimate. And Luna, her reaction had been just like her own after seeing that scene. Jasmine had, of course, sensed it before. But without proof, she hadn't wanted to ask. She didn't want to become a person consumed by suspicion just because of a guess. She didn't want to be that kind of person. Once suspicion took root, it could never be pulled out. A sharp pain shot through Jasmine's chest. It grew worse and worse, a soul-crushing ache. Even breathing felt difficult. That was her Cole. But she wasn't the only one who had him, and she had been planning on rewarding him soon. "I hate you, Cole." Jasmine clutched her chest, curling into a ball. There were no tears in her eyes, but there was no light either. The person she loved, the person she had raised, had been stolen from her. Memories of their life together, from childhood to now, flooded her mind. Except for that last year of high school, they had filled nearly every moment of each other's lives. She desperately wished Cole would explain, would say it was all a misunderstanding. But he hadn't. "Cole, why did you do this? Why didn't you say a single word of explanation? Are you just going to let it stand? Am I that unimportant to you?" As her heart ached, a wave of panic washed over her. Eastwood University, Department of Finance female dorm. "Lou, do you want to eat something?" Brianna asked worriedly. The person on the bed didn't answer. She lay facing the wall, her shoulders occasionally shaking with silent sobs. Brianna and Felicity exchanged a look inside. On the bed, Luna's tears flowed uncontrollably, soaking a large patch of her pillow. Her heart hurt so much. Brother? No, I'll never call him brother again. He was definitely involved with Serena. The way Serena hugged him. Only someone in love would do that. And he was definitely involved with Jasmine, too. She had sensed before that those two probably liked Cole, but she hadn't seen anything. She had believed she could win. But now, there was no light in her eyes. Losing Cole was like losing the entire world. Losing her pillar of support. "Brother, why didn't you explain? Just one word of explanation." "No, I'm not calling you brother. Never again. I hate you." The darkness deep inside Luna slowly began to surface. After a while, she sat up, her expression numb. "I'm resigning on Monday. You two don't have to worry about me. You can stay. Headline today, needs accountants." "What? Resign?" Lou. Brianna's eyes widened. She never expected Luna to give up. She and Felicity exchanged a look, unsure how to persuade her. If Luna didn't resign, with how well Cole treated her, she would have a secure position as the director of finance no matter what. "Lou, if you leave, I'm leaving too," Brianna said, leaning against the side of the bed. She had to be a loyal friend. If Luna was gone, what was the point of her staying? "Luna, I'll leave too," Felicity added. Even though she didn't want to leave headline today, she had to support her roommate. Cole was genuinely good to Luna. In all this time, she'd never seen them argue. They were unbelievably harmonious. The other three in their dorm fought for 3 days and made up for 3 days, breaking up and getting back together constantly. One of them was on her third new boyfriend. Even with her shallow understanding of psychology, Felicity couldn't find a solution. She couldn't just tell her roommate to endure it. "You two should stay. Listen to me. He won't do anything to you just because I'm leaving. He's not that kind of person," Luna said, her eyes vacant. Brianna and Felicity looked at each other again, feeling helpless. Eastwood University, School of Law female dorm. Serena lay motionless in her bed. "Serena, are you okay?" Zoe asked with concern from the side of her bed. "I'm fine, just tired. Going to sleep." Serena's voice was flat, devoid of any emotion. "Oh," Zoe said, glancing at her roommate's back before returning to her desk. She had never seen her roommate like this. It was probably a fight with Cole. This was good news. Should she tell the other party? Serena's mind was a mess. Today, she was the one who had been protected by Cole, but in the end, she couldn't feel happy. Their reactions proved that Cole's relationships with them were also deep. Maybe as deep as hers, maybe not. But they were definitely close. Jasmine's sis was definitely more than a sister, and the finance director was definitely more than just a finance director. Otherwise, their reactions would have been disappointment, not heartbreak and sorrow. Serena's heart twisted into a knot. Cole, are you that close with them too? Have you held them like that? If not, why didn't you take me back? Were you afraid of upsetting them? Serena was torn. She could pretend she hadn't seen their reactions, but she couldn't. The thought that Cole might treat those two the same way he treated her was a painful, sour, and infuriating pill to swallow. Just then, a roommate walked in, talking on the phone. She yelled into the receiver, "Get lost. Don't ever call me again, okay?" The shouting grated on Serena's nerves. "Cole, I don't want to be your legal consultant anymore." Outside the dorm, the rain fell endlessly. For 4 people, it was a sleepless night. The next day was Sunday. No classes, no work. For the 4 people who hadn't slept a wink, it was a chance to catch up on rest. Cole spent the night in a hazy, half-dreaming state. He was lost in various dreams, yet he was acutely aware of everything happening in his dorm room. Even when he opened his eyes, the dreamscapes continued to play out in his mind. He had experienced this kind of stress-induced reaction in his past life. While handling a major deal, he had been in this state for days, his body and mind stretched to their absolute limit. After closing the deal, he had lost a significant amount of weight. His friends envied his company's success, but no one saw the physical and mental torment he endured. Several times, Cole picked up his phone, typed a message in his chat with Jasmine, and then deleted it halfway through. By torturing his sister, he was torturing himself even more. His beloved Jasmine. How could he bear to hurt her? His heart was being gnawed away by pain. But if he didn't do this, he wouldn't be able to get through this ordeal smoothly. Because this was the biggest deal of his life. In some ways, love is like negotiating with a client. Sometimes, you can't speak right away. The moment you do, you lose the upper hand. An angry woman likes to get to the bottom of things. She won't let you go until you've confessed every detail. But you can't go too far either. Finding the right balance takes an immense amount of mental energy, no less than closing a deal. Cole didn't message the other 2 darlings either. He had to give them all time to cool down. This was destined to be an agonizing day. 4 dorm rooms, for people. Picking up their phones, putting them down, picking them up again. Eastwood Tech, Business Administration female dorm. Jasmine picked up her phone for the nth time. Still no message from her brother. A wave of frustration and sadness washed over her. What is he doing? Did he go find Serena? Does he not care about me at all? You bastard. Fine. You won't talk to me? Then I won't talk to you. At 2 in the afternoon, Jasmine opened her laptop and wrote a new status update on Facebook. Cole hasn't said a word in a day and a night. My heart hurts so much. Cole isn't talking to me. Maybe he'll never talk to me again. I'm so sad. I want to cry. After typing it out, she set the post privacy to only me. She tossed the laptop into a corner and collapsed back on her pillow. Alex walked into the dorm, calling her name 3 times and tapping the side of her bed before Jasmine even realized she was there. Eastwood University, Finance Department female dorm. Serena lay on her side, staring at the wall as if it held some great secret. Her lips were pursed, and her fingers kept fiddling with her phone, making it tumble over and over on the bed. Her mind was filled with the image of herself clinging to Cole. Her thoughts were a jumbled mess. You jerk, Cole. Aren't you going to message me and explain? What are you doing? Did you go find your sister? Or did you go find Luna? Why are you so bad? You jerk. Explain yourself. Do you expect me to ask you? I won't. I'm not talking to you either. Her phone rang. Serena's spirits lifted for a second, but when she saw the caller ID, the light in her eyes faded. Mom, what's up? Her voice was steady, as if she were a completely different person from the one anxiously waiting by the phone. Why didn't you go to the Law Society's reading event this weekend? Do you have a cold? Her mother, Helen, asked. No, Mom. I was just a little tired and wanted to sleep, Serena said, her brow furrowing slightly. A moment's thought, and she knew how her mother had found out. Her good roommate didn't know about the Law Society's weekend activities, so it wasn't her. The Law Society had a website where they posted articles and photos of all their official events. Her mom must have noticed her absence from the event log. Well, you need to rest when you're tired. You have 3 months left in the semester. Make the most of it. Focus on your foundation courses. You can't let your GPA slip. It'll be important when you start applying for your J.D. program in your junior year. I know, Mom. You should still attend events when you can. You don't want to give people the impression that you're not a team player. That's not good for building unity. Okay, Mom. After a while longer, the call ended. Serena let out a long sigh, a deep exhaustion washing over her. She hadn't done any strenuous work, but she felt incredibly tired. The feeling of constantly being watched was suffocating. And when the person watching was her own mother, it was even more depressing. She could yell at anyone else, but what could she do about her own mother? Even when the concern was crushing, it was still concern. To others, she was living a blessed life. She couldn't bear to talk back to her mother, so she just endured it silently. Sometimes the frustration and pressure that welled up inside her made her want to explode, but she always forced it back down. If it weren't for Cole, she felt she would go crazy one day. As for the Law Society event, she wouldn't have gone even if she hadn't had plans to see the cherry blossoms. A group of people sitting around a table, saying things that sounded profound but were meaningless upon closer inspection. She was increasingly convinced that a life in politics was not for her. She opened her chat with Cole, her face scrunching up in a frown. She muttered pitifully, "You jerk, Cole. If you don't talk to me soon, I'm going to go into public service. I'll work myself to death just to spite you." "Serena, I have some cookies here. You haven't eaten all day. Do you want some?" Zoe asked with concern from her bedside again. "I'm not hungry." "Thanks," Serena replied, her expression instantly becoming calm, her tone polite and distant. "Okay then." Eastwood University, Finance Department female dorm. Only Luna, Brianna, and Felicity were in a room. "Lou, I bought you a couple of pastries. You didn't eat last night. Have something," Brianna said, gently patting Luna's back. "I'm not hungry, Bri." "It's okay," Luna replied. Her pillow was still damp, her eyes red and swollen. She looked down at the phone clutched in her hands, her lower lip trembling pitifully. "Why hasn't he messaged me? Does he really not care about me anymore? Is he tired of me? Fine. I'll go resign tomorrow. I'll give it all back to him. I won't count his money anymore. I'll give him back all the wages, all the clothes. I don't want anything from him. I've always been alone anyway. I'd rather die than take anything from him." As she thought this, tears began to stream down her face again. Luna, the supplier for the tea alchemist, cleared up that discrepancy in their last invoice. "They did short us one case of coconut jelly. Winnie said they just delivered it, so we can pay for that case now," Felicity said, looking up from her laptop screen. "Oh, okay," Luna replied, wiping her tears on her pillow. She sat up, took her laptop, and began to work with focused intensity. After she was done, she said, "It's done, Felicity." She closed the laptop, lay back down, and immediately sank back into her grief. "This is the last time I'll manage his money. I'm resigning tomorrow. I'm resigning tomorrow." "Okay, I'll let Winnie know," Felicity said, then looked at Brianna and blinked. Brianna sent Felicity a message on Facebook. "Should be okay." Felicity nodded and replied, "I'll find another expense report for her, something due Tuesday. We can see how she reacts. It's against policy to process it today, though." Brianna typed back, "It's fine. I bet he wouldn't have the heart to say anything to her even if she did break the rules." On the bed, Luna was lost in her sorrow, silently chanting that she would find a place where no one could find her. Suddenly, she heard Felicity speak again. "Luna, there's an expense report from the manager of the Atlanta promotions team. He's out of cash and is asking for an early reimbursement. Can we process it?" Luna replied instinctively, "Yes. Branch offices can be reimbursed early in special circumstances." She wiped another tear on her pillow, swung herself up, and grabbed her laptop. "Send me his request." Cole had told her long ago that reimbursement for the branch offices could be handled flexibly. She carefully reviewed the items on the report and the receipts, and after confirming everything was in order, she transferred the money, taking a screenshot of the transaction as a record. Once it was done, she tossed the computer aside and lay back down. The loneliness and grief washed over her again. "This is the last time. I'll never do this again." Half an hour later, "Luna, I've tallied up last month's fees for a few of the product placement ads in the novels. Can you confirm them?" "Oh, okay." "Luna." "Oh, okay." The entire day passed like this. For three girls experiencing this kind of torment for the first time, their emotions rose and fell like a tide. Their hearts were tangled in knots, their thoughts going around in circles. And Cole, when faced with real feelings, wasn't faring much better. This was a completely different experience from his past life's battles with gold diggers and toxic women. Emotion is a strange thing. The neurological reactions it triggers are completely uncontrollable. It relentlessly pulls you into its vortex. The dark version of himself at the center of his consciousness was surrounded, fighting a desperate battle, unable to simply wave away the emotions. This proved he wasn't as strong as he imagined. He was just a man who had been deeply hurt, who was starved for affection, and had put on a suit of armor. He just wouldn't admit it to himself. On Monday morning, Cole showed up at the venture lab with massive dark circles under his eyes, his scare shot through with red veins. As he reached the 15th floor, he saw Yvonne standing by the door to Suite 1520, frantically signaling to him and pointing toward the small conference room. Cole understood instantly. One of the three must be here. But he didn't feel happy. Instead, his heart sank. It was too soon. It would have been normal for them to ignore him for 2 or 3 days. Yvonne looked at him with a complicated expression. It was the first time she had ever seen him look so haggard. She whispered, "It's Director and she's. You should go see for yourself." Luna? Cole had a bad feeling, but couldn't pinpoint why. He walked quickly to the conference room, took a moment to compose himself, and went inside. Behind him, Yvonne leaned against the doorframe and sighed. She never thought a player like Cole could be so sentimental. The girls who follow him won't be getting a bad deal, she thought. I wonder if there's room for one more in that car? I don't even need to sit in the front seat. When Cole entered the small conference room, the sight of the person inside made his heart stop. Luna was wearing her old clothes again. Her hair was tied back carelessly, with messy strands falling around her forehead and temples. Her expression was wooden, her beautiful face looking worn and utterly devoid of spirit. Sensing Cole enter, Luna's body trembled slightly. She bit her lip and refused to look at him. Seeing her so heartbroken, a sharp pain shot through Cole's heart, as if it had been slashed with a knife. A heavy wave of guilt washed over him. It was all his fault. Was she really going to leave him? Cole's heart felt like it was being twisted by a vice. He forced a calm expression and walked quietly over, sitting down beside her. On the table were his laptop, its bag, and a small notebook. "Lou, reimbursements aren't until Tuesday. Why did you come in today?" he asked, trying to keep his voice from trembling. In the face of imminent loss, he was struggling to maintain his strength. Silence filled the small room. Luna stared blankly at the tabletop. She tried to speak several times, but the words wouldn't come out. Her pale lips trembled. She bit down hard on her lower lip to stop the tears from welling up in her eyes, but the corners of her mouth turned down involuntarily. After a dozen seconds, she finally managed to speak. "I want to resign." Resign, even though he had been prepared for it. The words hit Cole like a bolt of lightning. Luna was really going to leave him. His usually calm mind descended into chaos. He searched for a solution, but nothing came. She was probably serious about leaving. Why else would she be wearing her old clothes? Her pride was so strong. How could she ever accept this? Cole looked at the side of her face. A single tear clung to the corner of her eye, slowly tracing a path down her cheek. He managed a faint smile and said softly, "Can you not go? I need you." Luna turned her head away slightly and shook it, her voice choked with a sob. "No, you can find a junior to be your accountant. Brianna and Felicity can help you too." Her hands were twisting the hem of her shirt, wringing it over and over. Her pitiful, helpless state sent a sharp pain through Cole's heart, but also gave him a sliver of inspiration. He shamelessly reached out and took her hand. It was a little cold. Her hand struggled slightly, but Cole held on tight, and she couldn't pull away. Luna turned her head to the other side, letting her hand lie limp in his, as if it had no feeling. She didn't clench her fist to pull away, nor did she squeeze back. Cole reached out his other hand, enveloping hers in both of his. "But I only want you to be my accountant," he said gently. Luna shook her head a few times, sending tears flying from the corners of her eyes. "No, I won't do it. You have to. It has to be you, Lou." Kneading her hand, Cole's heart still wasn't at ease. If a person's heart had truly grown cold, she would let you hold her hand just like this, but in the end, she would still leave without a second thought. In fact, struggling frequently was a better sign that her words didn't match her feelings. Based on his understanding of her, she wouldn't struggle angrily. But he was too worried to think clearly, terrified of making the wrong choice. Cole looked at the side of her face. A single tear clung to the corner of her eye, slowly tracing a path down her cheek. He managed a faint smile and said softly, "Can you not go? I need you. If you leave, what will I do?" Cole leaned closer, his arm brushing against hers. He could smell the scent of her hair. "I don't care." Luna's sob grew heavier. "But you have to care." Cole reached out his left hand and gently touched her cheek, turning her face toward him. His fingers came away wet. She had been crying this whole time. She met with a little resistance at first, but then it faded, and her face turned toward him. Her tear-filled, beautiful eyes, however, were staring at the ceiling, resolutely refusing to meet his. She let out a choked sob, her lip quivering as she said stubbornly, "I just don't care. She was just really scared and hugged me. Didn't I let go right away?" Cole said, stroking her cheek. He had to offer her this latter. Otherwise, she would never be able to face it. There is nothing more painful than hearing the person you love admit to it. Sometimes, a denial is a sliver of hope.